And let's start by having Chris say the opening prayer.
Okay, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for tonight. God, as we have this last council meeting here of 2021, we thank you for all that you've brought us through. We pray, God, for continued protection for our community, for our leadership, for our province, for our country, for this COVID-19 pandemic as things continue to make a mess. We pray, God, that you would give us peace and hope, especially as those are key themes here at this holiday season. We pray for your presence with us tonight. God, lead us into this year-end session and into the future for 2022. And it's going to be an uncertain time for the pandemic, an uncertain time for municipalities in general. And we just pray, God, for your guidance tonight and as we go forward. We thank you for being with us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Chris, while you were giving that prayer, I also put a word for the town. I hope God will hear me. I said, while you were giving that prayer, I also pray for the town, and I hope he hears me. The next item is motion to approve the agenda.
I make the motion to approve the agenda for December 13, 2021.
Seconded.
Point of privilege, is this where I interject? Is that where I interject? Okay. On the new business for, it's 9I. I asked if there was anything, it's in regards to committees of the town. I asked if there was any specific proposals that any of the councilors would like to put out, and I haven't heard of anything. So I don't believe that we're prepared to discuss this today. So I'm asking if we could table 9I for another date.
So you want to amend that?
I would like to amend the agenda.
Actually, I have also another motion of privilege. There is a resolution for council for a first reading of a bylaw which we have not yet had an opportunity to discuss. So I have many questions, and I have asked the councillors about the fact that if we're going to move to a resolution for a first reading, I want the opportunity to ask some questions about it. So the issue would be if my amended proposal for amending the agenda is not only to table the committees for the town, and I have some additional reasons for that, other than the one that Councillor Vetorakis mentioned, but also to either amend the nature of 9C to a presentation from the CAO on the intent, and maybe we can actually give to the CAO some suggestions on how we want that bylaw to be phrased. With regards to the 9I committees, I too have not heard any proposal with respect to what we had for committees. Certain committees work, they had several meetings. Other committees have stopped because there were some inputs from the lawyer who have never followed up with the lawyer as to what changes have to become. And I have not also heard anything about what we may add to this one. So I will second the motion for appending the agenda. And I will also ask to include the resolution for changing the 9C. If that is not amenable to this council, I have told you that I have several questions that we can discuss during 9C.
So, Your Worship, so I believe Councilor Diarakis is putting a motion on the floor to amend, to strike the agenda item 9I,
Yes.
which is committees. So that was your motion. That was the only motion. That was just for the 9I, right?
Yes.
I thought the motion was to amend the agenda.
Yep.
And I essentially, I made a proposal that we not only amend the 9I, but we also amend the 9C.
Okay. So I'm just wondering about the counselor that put the motion on the floor.
Yeah, so
Just
the- yeah.
9I.
Okay, you're right, Jason.
So,
Yeah, let's go with the 9I first. Yes, let's go with the 9I, which is essentially to table the committees for the town. 9I.
I'll second that. I'll second to table 9I.
Okay, so questions about what the councillor put forward for on 9I?
I disagree.
No, questions. Have any
Oh,
que-
that's a question.
Okay.
I disagree with
Okay,
it.
okay. Okay. Any other question? Okay, so I'll put the question to the floor, and Councillor Allison,
Nay.
you know what?
No, I would,
You like to speak about committees?
no.
I'm a bit confused. The motion is not to speak about committees.
Right.
That's the question I asked.
that's correct.
Okay.
Then, yes, I agree, we should
Yeah,
not
okay, okay,
to
yes,
committees.
okay. It's I'm a bit confused with the yea and the nay.
I thought we used to take it.
Well, I'm lost.
Sam?
So the question is, all those in favor of not talk about committees? Is that
Yes.
The question is, the question that was put on the floor, the motion is to actually table the 9I, because you have not yet received any proposal about what 9I ought to be
Did
discussed
you
today.
understand that question?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Did you understand the question when you answered it?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
So you're saying that you want to table? Is that what you're saying? You want
Yes,
to
yes,
Table it?
yeah.
Okay. No, I'm not in favor of that. I want to get this over with.
I'm not in favor. I'm a no.
I'm a no.
I'm a no. Well, I'm in favor of it.
I'm in favor.
And I'm in favor of it too. So the 9I is going to be in. We're going to discuss it. I expect to take about an hour to 2 hours, because we have about 5 committees, and I have issues to discuss with each committee. I have not received any proposals from any councillor about what they want to discuss on that one. So I will ask, while we're waiting, if Chris, you can distribute to all the councillors the proposed committees and mandates. So when the time comes, we can start talking about it. I had a second motion. I put forward a second motion that I am not prepared to have a first reading of the bylaw 87, because I have not been able to get answers to a lot of issues associated with bylaw 87. So this is my motion. Any councillor wants to second it?
I'll second it.
And questions?
Is 87, is that the development incentive bylaw that you're talking about? That we have all of this here? Can't we hear about it first?
And that's my point. And that is my point. I have about, actually, I warned the council that I have about many questions, and I know other councillors have many questions about the nature of this bylaw, why it is so restricted to certain types of ventures, what will happen with the commitment that we gonna put on our shoulders with this bylaw after changes happen to our municipal structure. So if we're gonna prepare to entertain that, I just want to warn the gallery and the individuals that I have a lot of questions. I'm prepared to actually have Jason give us a presentation about the intent and why it has structured it the way that he has structured it, and the council to give him guidance or ask questions, but I'm not prepared to move to a resolution for a first reading before I ask all these questions. So we have the motion on the floor. We have has been seconded. Is on the floor. Any other question? Okay, I'm going to start again for putting it the question on the floor, and Councillor Allison. The motion is for, to amend the 9C to either being tabled or to change to a discussion, starting with a presentation from the CAO. What you say about this?
They can't be both, yeah.
So you want, Jason is going to,
I'm sorry?
Can't be both. It's either got to be removed or
We're
it's,
either going to remove it,
or
or we're going
discussion.
to, or we're going to listen. Or table it, whatever, however the language is.
Then we can break it into two motions. Then we can table that one into two motions. The first one is, do we want Jason to actually give us a presentation about this bylaw, what are they intend, and ask him questions? Or you want to actually have a reading?
could we table it till the next meeting, till January's meeting, and then we can find out the answers and have time to think about it over the holidays before we come back to our next council meeting?
The only reason, and I will answer the question, because that's a question. The only reason for I would like to get Jason to give us a 30,000 feet view of this bylaw today is because this is a public matter and it should not be introduced as a first reading. The people of the town deserve to know what this is all about, who is excluded, who is included, how the town is going to get the money back from the incentive that it gives. So a general plain English talk should precede the reading of the bylaw. So that's why I would have liked not just table it, but at least have Jason spend 15 minutes talking to us about what he's proposing. So if I answer your question. So if we're gonna break the motion, have a discussion with Jason presentation or table it, I would say I don't vote for tabling. I vote for the other one. Jason, can you help us with the procedure right here?
Yeah, so right now, there is a motion to make it a presentation tonight and not a first reading. So that's what the motion
Correct.
is right now. That's up for
clear.
vote.
That's clear, yes. That's much more clear. So the motion that I put on the floor, and if anybody wants to second, is to have a presentation from Jason
Second.
instead of a first reading.
DeRuckus.
Do I have a second for that?
Yep. Councilor DeRuckus.
Okay.
Yeah, second, yeah.
Okay. So, just to clarify it again once more, the motion is to have a presentation from Jason about the incentives bylaw tonight.
So you're just going to give a brief presentation over this?
Yes.
and then we
Okay,
wouldn't vote on
I'm in favor of that, yeah?
Yeah, I'll vote in favor of that.
Okay, so, yes?
Oh, sorry, that's fine, yes.
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Okay, so there is a modification in the agenda to actually have
A present.
is 9C to be a presentation from our CAO on the development incentives bylaw. Okay, so we can start.
Your Worship. So now we're going back to the original approval of the agenda, now that it has been amended. The approval was by Councilor Allison and Councilor Rubin. So in question period, this is when the amendments were made. So now we can go back to the original proceedings of a vote for the agenda. That has now been amended.
I make a motion that we accept
Nope.
the amendments.
Yeah, you already did, so.
Yeah, I seconded it.
So all in favor of this amended agenda?
Aye.
Right?
Item 4 is approval of minutes of previous council meetings. 4A is approval of regular meeting of council November 8, 2021.
I make a motion that we approve the regular council meetings for November 8th, 2021.
Second?
There's a little bit of an adjustment that needs to be made
Please.
first on that. On page 3, the inquiry inquire about the utility income. There's a typo error. It says 800,000 owing to us when it should have only been 83,000. So I feel that that should be amended.
Can you help me once
Yes,
more
right
with the pointing, the point that you said?
On page 3,
Yes.
at the very bottom, you'll see Councillor Armstrong inquired about utility income regarding the residential and industrial. It looks like we have 800,000 owing to us. It should not say 800,000, it should say 83.
83,000.
Yes.
Okay. Noted, and but just that's a typographical error, and I believe we can correct it.
Yep.
Yeah. It's okay. So, as corrected now, we have the Town of St. George Regular Committee date November 8th as corrected. Any other corrections or? Okay, so we have a motion to approve that agenda, that meeting. Has been moved by Councillor Allison, seconded?
I seconded it.
Seconded by the Deputy Mayor. And all in favor? Approval of minutes of previous council closed-door meeting November 10.
I shall make the motion to accept the minutes meeting for November 10th.
I'll second it.
All in favor? And finally, we have to approve the minutes of special meeting of November 22.
Make that motion. Accept November 22nd.
And I'll second it.
All in favor? Conflict of interest declarations? Any? No conflicts. The next one is delegations who have Project Village car share from East Charlotte Waterways. Please.
Is this the same presentation?
Thank you so much. Hope I can be heard. Okay. So, thank you so much, Your Worship and councilors. Before we start our presentation about the Project Village Car Share, we would like to say our thanks to the town of St. George, Your Worship, and the councilors for giving us this opportunity to be able to share with you the good things that are happening in our community through ECW's current projects. So thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, and for listening to us. So tonight we're going to be presenting to you the Project Village Car Share. To give you a little bit of a background, Project Village is this one big initiative spearheaded by ECW, and it has different segments. So we have food, we have shelter, the housing, and the transportation. So the car share program is under that transportation arm of the project, that Project Village. So what we'll cover for today are the transportation challenges, the key objectives to support rural transportation, Project Village Car Share, how we got here, and where we're going. So we'll also present to you the standard operating procedures, the car share service policies, and the fare structure and matrix. And then we will be closing by giving the floor for the questions of the council. So shown in this graphic presentation to you are the community issues that contribute to a much bigger transportation challenge here in our region. So we will be providing to you this, I know it's a little small, but we will be providing this file to you so the councilors can go back and review the contents of this slide as they wish to. So the key objectives for this presentation, so what do we hope to accomplish through this meeting are to present the management and the operations framework of the car share transportation system, to secure good partnership with local municipality and community leaders for the success of this transportation program, receive the local municipalities' feedback to enhance the car share management and operations, and address any questions, areas of concern related to this car share initiative. So this is the car share progress timeline that summarizes how we got here, where we're at, and where we're heading to in this car share program. So first, we had the grant application submitted of October last year through ECCC's Climate Action and Awareness Grant. And then we were very honored to be awarded that grant. And through that funding that we received last May, we bought 4 electric vehicles. These are Hyundai Konas SUVs from St. John Hyundai. We're also able to outsource car share software, which is the Survey platform, the online ride booking system from YHC Mobilite. We had our open house last October wherein we presented the different segments of Project Village to the community members. We had the car share software installed in our vehicles. We had our car share operations development last September, wherein we met and we collaborated with our organizational partners and community partners to design and develop this car share system operations that we have. And we are working towards the Project Village car share pilot run. So our team are working very hard to have a successful pilot run, and we're doing the last pieces of the puzzle. So when everything is set and everything is working properly, we're planning to launch the Project Village to the public in spring 2022. So what is the car share model? It is a transportation model where an individual books a ride time for a vehicle and drives it. Car sharing system operates based on the moving demand for vehicle rides. The core benefits of car share services are shared car usage time and cost distribution among community members. So if a vehicle can be shared with multiple people, we can expand the transportation services to community members with different or unique traveling needs. Furthermore, the shared vehicle usage time will cause this transportation model to be affordable, as the cost of operations will be distributed to members. The car share service can then be extended to groups with low income. So we're going to be going through the different aspects of the operation structure of the car share program. So first up, we have the standard operating procedures, which is divided into 2 phases. So the first phase is the membership application, and the next phase is the ride booking. So the phase 1 of our procedure is a one-time process wherein any individual or interested applicants must go through or must follow in order to join this car share program. So first is to send us an email expressing their interest to be part of the program. Next is to create a member account through Survey online platform. This is our ride booking system. Third is to receive the Survey RFID card upon the approval of their membership application. So phase 2 is the ride booking process. This is a continuous and repeating procedure. So this is for all members who wants to book a ride with our electric vehicles. They should follow these steps. So first up is to schedule their trip using the Survey platform. Next is to physically access the electric vehicle and then start their trip. And lastly is to return the vehicle and end their trip in the system. So now the car share service policy is one of the tedious parts of the operating system. And it's composed of a lot of elements. So, but a high level review of our policies includes these points. So first one is the car share operations, which gives you the detail of the operation time, the service features, and the service inclusions of the car share. The general use policy that gives you the detail of how the standard quality of how we manage the cars, how we manage the operation, and the responsibility of our members when they use the car share services. Next is the restricted use of the vehicles. We have the penalties and other charges, and then we have policies for accidents and property damage. We'll be happy to share with you later on the reference materials that gives you the more detailed narrative of this aspect. So it gives you the comprehensive service policy that we have. So our counselors can go back to that and refer to that document anytime that they wish to. Next one is the fare structure and matrix, but before we get into details of this one, let's first discuss the cost distribution concepts of the car share program. So generally, the Project Village Car Share Program takes a membership service structure, and it is because of, number one, the eligibility requirements to access the car sharing service, and number two, the cost of operations. So in here, we're gonna be talking about the membership fees and the base fare rate. So the membership fees will cover the fixed costs of the operations, which includes the system license, insurance fees, car registration, road assistance, maintenance, and e-charge membership. On the other hand, the base fare rate covers the variable cost of the operation, which includes the power consumption every time that they charge the vehicle, and the short-term repair services. So in this diagram, it will show you how our fare strategy works. So first we have the prospective user, which can be classified as either long-term members or short-term members. So long-term members are those individuals who are expected to use the vehicle more frequently, more regularly than any others. So it's more advisable for them to subscribe in a membership plan, for them to reduce the overall service charge that they're gonna have while they're using the vehicle, every time that they use the vehicle. On the other hand, the short-term members are those members who use the car share services very infrequently, very irregularly, that they pass on from buying a membership plan and just go straight to pay for the regular service rate every time that they use the vehicles. So you can see in there that there's a level 1 fee charge and level 2 fee charge. The level 1 fee charge is the membership fees, and it can be shown through a community or business membership. So you'll see later that the community membership plan is way more affordable than the business membership. It's because these two are like different, they have different client bases. The level 2 fee charge is the base fare rate or the service rate that we call. So every time they use the card, this is in effect. The long-term members you'll see later has more affordable, more reduced rates than the short-term members. So, and it's because they're paying the membership plan. Here you can see the membership fees. So the membership fees is classified, can be classified in the community and business membership plans. And a membership plan can be arranged per month or annually. As you can see overall, that the community plan, overall it has a more reduced pricing or reduced rate than the business plan. You can also see there that there's a one-time fee, which is the registration fee of $12. So please take note that this registration fee applies to both long-term members and short-term members. And the reason behind that is because this $12 registration fee will compensate for the cost of the RFID card that we will use as the access to the vehicle. So the vehicles, they don't have keys inside. So unless you have the RFID cards, you cannot really lock and unlock the doors. So, and that RFID card will be given to you when you have an approved, completed membership registration with us. Next one is the fare matrix. So you will see that the fare matrix, this is the service rate. It's classified for long-term members and short-term members. On the leftmost side, you'll see the ride bookings on set of hours. On the rightmost side, you'll see the inclusion, which is the drivable distance. So for example, 1 hour of ride booking, you'll have a 150-kilometer drivable distance included for that 1 hour of use. So long-term members, as you can see overall, they have discounted rates than the short-term members. So because they're paying a membership plan. So for example, a 1 hour of ride booking with a 150-kilometer drivable distance, a long-term member only pays $8 per booking, while a long-term member pays $12 per booking. So we would like to take note that all of the numbers that you're seeing in here with the membership fees and the fare matrix, there are basic values, which means that taxes are not accounted for, the credit card payment services fees are not accounted for. So when we roll out our car share program, the service invoice would look a bit different. It's because this external cost will be accounted on that document. And that concludes our presentation. Before we give the floor for our councilors to ask questions and to give their comments, we would like again to thank you, Your Worship, the councilors, for your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you for lending us your ears.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm gonna go around with ask questions. Councilors want to ask questions?
So where in St. George are you going to be putting in a station so that they can charge the vehicles? Where is that going to be? Or do they go on a certain length and then?
So presently, there aren't any electric charging stations in St. George, so we don't have necessarily a direct location here in town. 2 cars will be stationed in Blacks Harbor at the old Freshmark property, and then 1 will be stationed at the arena in St. Andrews, and 1 will also be stationed at the Garcelon Civic Center in St. Stephen. So we hope to eventually be able to see a charging station come to St. George, and then we would happily put a vehicle here in St. George. Yeah.
So have you looked around to see a spot here in St. George, or has someone have to approach you to ask?
A property in St. George. We've had a few groups approach possibly be able to have some property, but the issue isn't necessarily property acquisition. The problem is to try to secure a charging station for the town.
Okay. Do you know how much that will cost?
Level 2 charging stations, $10,000 through NV Power, and a level 3 charging station, which is an AC fast charge, is about $100,000. And NV Power could have at the moment in their inventory upwards to 93 level 2 charging stations.
So just to confirm, spring 2022, St. George is not,
No.
will not be included.
For the pilot run, unfortunately, until there's a charging station available in the municipality.
And you mentioned about how Project Village got a grant through ECCC. What organization is that?
Yeah, it's a Federal Department of Environment and Climate Change Canada.
Pardon?
Environment and climate change.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I know that we met with you this fall when you did a brief presentation with us, and at that time you talked about your difficulties in getting insurance for the vehicles. I'm just wondering how that has played out for you.
Yeah, that's still the one internal detail we're trying to work out.
So, as a consumer, does my car insurance cover the vehicle if I was to rent it?
Yeah, so that is an option. Ideally, our best case scenario outcome would be able to insure the vehicles for use for individuals who don't have insurance. But technically, as they are right now, individuals who do have insurance that can be transferred over, similar to renting a vehicle, can access the cars. But until the pilot project, we wanted to wait till it was all in place to kind of make it more available for everybody.
So if you don't have a car and you need to avail yourself of one of these cars, you obviously won't have car insurance. So how do they get a car?
That's the details we're working on.
That's, you're still working on those?
I have a few questions. The project was started as an Eastern Charlotte project.
It is ECW. It is an ECW project, Eastern Charlotte Waterways.
And at what point it became a Charlotte County project-wide?
When we initially, so Eastern Charlotte Waterways is an environmental nonprofit that works in all of Southwestern New Brunswick region. I know our name's a bit of a mix-up on that, but ECW does work for the entire region. And when we initially submitted for the grant in October of 2020, we had fit in as all of Southwestern New Brunswick.
Okay, so it is a project for the whole Charlotte County.
That's correct.
Okay. My other question is, when one uses, whether you are company or community group or individual, when you are using the vehicle and you are delivering it and you checking it out with your card, is there any follow-up action from your organization to check that the vehicle has been delivered intact and everything is okay? There is a,
In the Solvay booking platform, they're geolocated vehicles, so in order for the user to complete their vehicle ride, they must return it to the service area. So that will be, it'll all be accounted for. Yeah.
so essentially you have staff in St. Andrews and St. Stephen and Blacks Harbor. When the car is returned, somebody can check that no one has dented or,
So
Yeah,
we have
some-
agreements, we have agreements currently with the town of St. Stephen and the town of St. Andrews, and their staff, based on where it is parked, they'll be checking it periodically to ensure that there's no damage to the
but with Blacks Harbor, you are doing it yourselves.
We work with Blacksburg.
Okay. My next question is logistic. Why businesses became part of this equation? Like, I understand community groups because there are a lot of community needs. Okay, I can understand individuals who may want to pay extra and get it or whatever to try an electric car. But why businesses became one of the three components and they have a special status?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. The purpose of including businesses is to ensure that we can have the vehicles available for wider audiences, and also by the operational costs in the long term can help to be subsidized by the businesses using the vehicles as well. We might be able to pay a little bit more for the membership comparatively to community organizations.
Okay. And my last question relates to St. George. Our town is facing a community-wide problem with access to the doctors right now. Our last doctor has moved from the edge of the town to Quispamsis. Even for a person who can afford a car, he will have to spend about $30 in gas and 3 hours to get there. I was just wondering if your group is amenable in any ways to set up a form of collaboration, coordination with our municipality, whereby twice a week a car would be available to be taken from your station there with 3 or 4 individuals going to St. John for appointment with the doctor who now sees his patients in Quispamsis and then bring it back. I was just wondering if that kind of service and collaboration fits within your framework, because if it fits, I will be the first one to actually go to Jason and say how can I actually make it happen, because there is a big demand in our community right now, particularly for seniors who have problems either driving a car or not affording a car, to actually get into some carpooling option to actually go and see the doctor and come back. So this car fit about four individuals? It's a 5-seater. So I just wondering, have you considered it? Will you consider it?
Yes, absolutely. So it is amenable to have municipalities as though they were business and or community organizations. So it would be similar to what we would be doing with the Multicultural Association of Charlotte County. For language courses, for instance, that's been an identified need and possibly using our vehicles. Blacks Harbor Community School for their after-school programs. So those pre-booking opportunities would be available if you did know dates and such as well. And everything else would have to base on a flex schedule and when the cars are available. I think ideally what we do for a next step for St. George is to get a charging station in our municipalities so that we can locate one of these vehicles here. And we'd be happy to work with you,
Definitely.
whatever grant and funding opportunities avail themselves. And then we can definitely discuss service agreements for sure.
But you are aiming to have this program out and running in the spring,
Yes.
which means March, April, somewhere there?
Well, ideally, once we resolve the insurance question, we can have them on the road in the new year. That's my objective,
So earlier than March, February,
ideally.
ideally. Okay. Thank you very much. I don't have any other question. Anybody else has any questions? Thank you. And we'll move to item 7, general reports, and we'll start with the general government report.
will not go unused. So again, a bit of a mixed blessing in a way. And really all we're waiting for there is for the staging company's engineer to provide DTI with an engineer stamped design on the staging and how it's going to be situated on the bridge. We've been talking with various landowners on development opportunities in St. George, everything from Brunswick Street to Portage Street, and as well as sections of Carlton Street. So 2022 looks to be favorable for the town. Canal Beach, 2 of 3-part project phases. We've received quotations. The first and the second phase. The first phase being some land work and well drilling and the sewage installation for Canal Beach, and the second phase being the building. We've received quotes on both of those phases. The first was awarded. The second phase is going to hopefully be awarded this week. And the third phase, basically we'll be doing that in late spring. Dangerous and unsightly properties, basically approving 2 demolition permits for town properties in town. Actually, one of those buildings was demolished today. Well, number 2, we will continue to with upgrades using the gas tax fund top-up of 2021. We'll be doing that in the new year. Focusing first on the actual pump machinery, the pump equipment, and then looking at installing the generator for well 2. As I mentioned, sewage lift stations, we've been hit with several failures of sewage lift stations in town, mostly due to wear from system demands. So we did put out some social media to residents, advising them not to flush wipes, even though when they say flushable, as some brands do, they are not flushable, and they're wreaking havoc. Macadavic Place, we've done some updating with the conference room. We'll be looking at refreshing this room as well in the new year. I want to thank Mark Grant for the work that she did in cleaning and the inventory of the kitchen. We've been working with the Service Commission on some bylaws, incentive bylaw and the municipal plan, and as well as looking at possible industrial park expansions with water exploration, preliminary work there. We've been in discussion with RDC on acquiring funding for the preliminary work on that project. We've been moving along with our partnership with the Regional Service Commission on housing projects here in St. George, one being Hillside Crescent. The seniors have advised the town that they will be using the Legion, the Royal Canadian Legion, as their, as their meeting place, and they say thanks to the town for the use of the Macadavic in the past years, and right now they're going to be using the Legion going forward. We still have an RDC applications outstanding. One of those is for the equipment for the St. George Library. We're still waiting to hear back from RDC. They have confirmed that it is in process. The other ones, of course, are water projects. Agri-Spirit with the Farm Credit Canada, we were awarded $15,000 from Farm Credit Canada for new air pack and spare bottles for the fire department. And with the fire department, St. George Fire Department will be moving to St. John Dispatching in the new year, and just going to be finalizing that agreement this week. As far as residential complaints, we've had a tree down on Marsh Trail. That's the trail north of the highway. That's been fixed, and certainly the Christmas tree lights. We've had a few complaints on that, and we hope that we've fixed the problem. It's mostly just a switch that has been kicking out a fuse in a way. So we've hopefully fixed that problem, but thank you to the residents that have brought that to our attention, and hopefully that's fixed now. That's all I have, Your Worship.
Questions?
I do have one question around the Lower Bridge sewer line insulation work. I know that when we approved that, there was gonna be a little bit of a delay in regards to, the scaffolding and all that. So, but I felt that at the time that we approved it, there was an urgency because of the the shape in which the insulation is and the risk of having those pipes freeze. So now that we're not going to go forward with that, what risk does that leave us?
It does elevate the risk because there are some sections of that pipe that are exposed.
Yes.
So the positive side is that pipe flows fairly regularly. So there's always a flow that goes through there, except maybe some parts early in the morning. The urgency is still there, and this is what I've expressed to DTI, that we need to get this done. But unfortunately, they are still trying to ask for material that probably should have been asked for early. Seems like we'll give them the information that they're looking for, and then there's another question or another piece of information that we need to provide. So I think we're fairly close to that. It's just unfortunate it's taken a while.
So what is the course of action if we do have a freeze up and we have a breakage?
Repair that break.
Well, we're still gonna need the scaffolding, we're still gonna need, somebody hanging off the
Yeah.
side of the bridge.
Definitely.
To fix a repair where we have raw sewage going into the basin, I guess I am concerned, really, because we
Yep.
have been working on this since August. And I'd hate to think that we would create, because of the inability to find a proper scaffolding system to finish this.
Yeah, and this is the same scaffolding company that worked on that bridge, that did the updates to it. So a lot of this is the information that was provided to them at that time. And they now want it updated, DTI.
Well, let's hope we don't get a cold winter.
Any other questions? I have two questions. The first one is the Christmas tree went through the emergency line 911, how it was reported to us.
Mostly through social media comments.
Social media.
We did have some people stop in. We did have some phone calls as well. So it was certainly treated as an emergency.
Okay. Thank you. The second one is I want to understand the role of the Service Commission into our incentive bylaw that you are going to discuss a bit later. Is there any existing program through which Service Commission is engaging municipalities in Several County for this kind of thing? As you know, can you brief the council about it?
Yeah, St. Stephen, for example, utilizes the Service Commission when it comes to that type of a bylaw.
Oh, no, I'm talking about, not about helping us with the bylaw. I'm talking about, you mentioned about programs for housing. Is there any specific Service Commission program right now which is geared towards helping municipalities with housing? Because I have not heard
Not that
about
I'm aware of. Certainly, Service Commission may be able to speak on that.
Okay, well, actually, we're going to have Alex talk to us
Yeah.
about it later on. No, that's all questions I have. If there are no more questions, we can move to. One point I want to actually make just struck me. I understand that the previous work on the upper bridge was done in January by the same company.
Yeah,
So that window is still open.
that's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
they've done work in the wintertime. At this point where we're now into the holidays, that's why we're saying, okay, let's hopefully get this done week 1 of January 2022. That would certainly be ideal. So, yeah, certainly it's not the interest to push that ahead to summertime. The sooner the better.
Okay, we can move on to item 7B, EMO status.
Thank you, Your Worship. We still remain as the town of St. George for level 1 active monitoring. As of today, there's been 1,048 cases in the province, with 41 of those hospitalized, and 142 deaths. The province itself is still at a level 1. That has not changed. Update to the mandatory order today, with some changes to come over the next couple of weeks as far as requirements and restrictions. So that's all I have.
Can I ask, there was a plan to actually use this building here for booster shots. how that plan is going on.
That's correct, yeah. We're still talking with Horizon on scheduling the Macadamic for, it'd be for vaccinations, booster
Yes.
shots, first or second doses as well. So they've given us some dates, I believe, and we're hoping to have those scheduled as soon as possible. So we're still just really waiting on them to finalize their schedule.
They give us any tentative, because I'm talking to my pharmacist and they say they hold vaccination clinics once a week at the pharmacy. I was wondering, do you have any idea when this thing is going to happen here and how often it's going to be happening?
We were hoping, I guess, for, yeah, Chris can give a little update on the schedule.
So staff has been in contact with Horizon Health over the last couple of weeks. We received an email last week that scheduled anywhere from 3 to 5 days a month throughout 2022. This morning, I also spoke with the Horizon Health person trying to organize some before the end of the year, and we covered about 8 different dates here for this location between now and the end of the year, including possibly Christmas Eve and dates between Boxing Day and New Year's Eve. So they are trying. They just had to narrow it down a little bit further. I expect to hear back in the next day or two for at least 3 to 4 dates this month. So, but there are several dates scheduled throughout 2022 already.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. If there are no more questions on the topic, we'll move to 7C, the fire report.
All right, in terms of responses for last month, not a whole lot to talk about there, nothing really substantial. Training, again, wasn't a whole lot to talk about there. Equipment, I've mentioned this now for several reports in a row. We're waiting on our portable radios and pagers to replace much needed equipment. We did receive some of the other things I ordered, some Class A foam, boots, gloves, hoods, and a oxygen trauma kit. As far as my recommendation last month to look at purchasing TMR radios in 2021 with any dollars that might be available, I've got nothing to report on that. I put in a request for 6 wildland water packs to replace old equipment to get ready for the spring. I haven't really heard back on that yet either. Engine 453 has got to go. I've got it booked for Wednesday to have some minor repairs. Some of the hoses that go back from the engine compartment to the heating unit within the pump compartment have worn off on the frame, so we've repaired it several times, and basically we need to get longer hoses and they need to reroute them. What happens when they leak is we lose all of our press down out on the ground, which could cause the truck to blow up. Not a good situation, so got to fix that. And the CAO Cadet had mentioned that they had $15,000 grant to get some SCBA and related equipment, so he's working on that. Fairly busy with events last month. Santa, Mrs. Claus, and I think maybe 3 elves or something like that got a ride on one of the engines for the tree lighting. And firefighter Ryan Lovett was good to volunteer his time and make that happen. I have attended the Fundy Firefighters Association quarterly meeting, which was online, and as I mentioned, I've been busy preparing training for the whole county for the upcoming 2022 season. Also, I met with the Community Liaison Committee with the Emera Pipeline. We meet several times a year. I've been doing that for too many years. I don't remember even how long it's been now. So they keep us in touch with, you know, anything that's going on along the pipeline, and if anybody from the community has questions with regard to the pipelines, they can come to people like me, and I'll forward that along. So if anybody asks any questions about the pipeline of you, you can direct them to me, and hopefully I can help them out. I was supposed to be in Fredericton today. I sit as a member of the Provincial Fire Service Training Advisory Committee. They postponed that due to COVID. None of us wanted to go to Fredericton and be in a room together, basically. So they postponed that. Actually, last time they did it, it was online, but for some reason they wanted this one to happen in person, so we're gonna have to wait and do it later. Or do it online. And as well, I'm in frequent contact with the EMO Regional Coordinator, Rhonda Hooling, on just general stuff and awareness. Any questions on any of those things? Or anything else related? No?
Maybe Chief, go start from there.
Engine 453, how long is that going to be tied up for?
I'll take it to work in the morning and bring it home that night.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
just a day thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it'll only take them an hour or two, but it'll be there for the day. Unless something comes up, and I'll bring it home earlier.
Which we hope
Lights and
doesn't.
sirens.
Which we hope it doesn't.
Well, I hope it doesn't, yes, exactly. Anybody else?
Okay.
Sam?
No question.
All right,
No question.
all good?
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
And the next one is 7D, Building and Planning Report, Southwestern Bee Service Commission. And Alex, the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, as Jason said, we've prepared a background planning report for the council to review when you have an opportunity. I think tonight's council meeting was just going to be too full to be able to look at it, but the background study for the St. George Municipal Plan. And maybe make a note here, you know, with the local government reform discussions and debates in Fredericton, I guess there's a question about the local bylaw making and whether you should continue on with local plans. One of the things I've heard from Fredericton on this point is it is definitely worthwhile to continue plan making at the local level because there is going to be some transitionary period with this new structures that are coming in place and all that. So it will take those new structures potentially a couple years to develop a comprehensive plan covering their whole new entity. So definitely still worthwhile to proceed with updating your bylaw. And we are definitely on hand to do that for council. So that is something we can discuss at a later date, but just FYI, that's the word we're getting from Fredericton on plan making. As Jason mentioned as well, Hillside Crescent subdivision, we're looking at the restart and expansion of the proposal that had been to council previous years, but has now come back. This requires municipal services, and we're looking at all the agreements that are needed per the subdivision bylaw under that. There is 2 rezoning applications that have, they're kind of in still information gathering stage, and they're not ready to come to council yet, but when they are, they'll be, you'll be seeing them for the first reading, and the drafts will be presented to you, but not at this time. Development update. So this year has been extremely busy for St. George, a very high estimated total value construction, nearly 15 million. That may be a record. It very likely is. In the report period, there was just 2 new building permits, just over 200,000 value. 26 development permits. So these are the difference between building and development. Development are permits of typically smaller structures or just land use approvals, things that are exempt from code. The total value of these is actually quite large too, at 1.6 million over the whole year, total estimated construction value. And in the report period, it was just 3 new development permits. 1 development officer variance was issued for a 5-foot setback at a garage at 27 Harvest Lane. and there was one new subdivision approved in the report period. I will mention also on the local government reform topic, as is a relevant discussion, an active discussion. I'm going to be meeting with some provincial planning director, other planning directors across the province this Friday to discuss some of the implications, because there's quite a lot about local and planning and provincial statements in the bill. So we're looking at that and going through that in detail. So I'll perhaps have more to share on that later on. And yes, and I'm also going to be staying here to talk about the development incentive bylaw and what that, my advice was regarding that. So I'm happy to speak to that later or now, depending on what you'd like to do.
So, I guess, my question, and I should go last. Councillor Allison, any question?
I'm okay right now, thank you.
Sam?
No.
Nothing at this time.
Nothing at this time.
I have a few questions. The first one is, I understand you're on the forefront now of potential change that may be coming. Can you brief us a bit about what will happen to the body of bylaws and the municipal plan that you are about to help us put forward? What will happen to this one as we become essentially what's the proper term? Area 53, yeah, is one. It's not Area 57, the one for the. No, I'm talking about like essentially this council, as it works towards November, is essentially a trustees in bankruptcy, so to speak, trustees in dissolution, so to speak. So I just wondering if you can actually fill us in how if you have any transition plan developed.
Yeah, so your worship, yeah, that is a great question, one which I asked myself when I saw the white paper and looked through. Going through the legislation that's on the second reading and it's going to third reading in Fredericton, what I see is that there's transitional clauses for bylaws made under this government, so that when a new entity is in place in January 1st, 2023, they're not coming with zero bylaws that are applicable. It's good. So basically, the same applies in just outside here, outside of the municipality. We're going to be continuing on with a rural plan for the Fundy Bay LSD. We have a background study done for that as well. So that's going to be part of the same municipal entity. So what it means is that when the new municipal entity comes in place, they're not coming in with a blank slate. There's still bylaws that apply to different parts of the new entity. It will take time for them to develop a new municipal plan, or I'm not sure if that's the exact terminology used, but a new comprehensive plan covering the whole new entity. And they'll have to 2027 to do so. And I think that's a reasonable target. It will take some time because they're definitely going to be covering areas that have never had planning before. And they'll covering areas that have had planning for a very long time. And to synthesize those two areas and the multiple areas in between, it's going to be quite a lot of work, but it's doable. And 2027 as the date is the drop dead date by the time they have to have something. So I would venture to say it may not take the whole 4 years, but it may take the majority of that time. So that 3-year period, the town side of St. George, or the village side of Lax Harbor, and some of these outlying rural areas will still have planning documents that will still have legal transitionary power. So that's how I understand it. I'm going to get more detail on that on Friday, so I could have a slight update on that point, but that's how I understand it.
We're eager to actually learn what is coming, so can actually, because we are talking about things which are going to be hitting just the transition spot, like the incentive bylaw. And Yes. I don't have any other question. Thank you very much. We are moving on to item 7E, Water and Sewage Report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Water and wastewater report for the month of November. Average water consumption for November was 253,900 imperial gallons for a total of 7,081,600 imperial gallons. There was no total E. coli form or E. coli reported. Well levels are good except for well number 4. The tower builder and manufacturer completed a secondary inspection of the tower after it was lower to 17 meters. We have not seen the final report of yet on this inspection. We have placed 2 rocks at well 6 to protect the lawn, removed the construction sign, installed a shelf unit inside well 6. The contractor replaced the outside light with one that does not shine out into traffic and replaced the generator connection to fit our generator. The trailer-mounted generator has had the necessary repairs done to allow for the load problem as noted in its annual test. 2 more sewage pumps were sent to Dartmouth for repair. One was from the Portage Street, was ruined by baby wipes. This is the second time for this to happen in this station, which is the second busiest in town. The replacement cost for one of these pumps is $14,000, which is not the only problem. They are usually only available 6 to 8 weeks, so I would recommend having a spare one on hand. The check valves in the station were were also in need of replacement, as the remaining pump couldn't pump because the valve was stuck. Finally found the ball for the inside of the valve in the U.S., which took a week to get. The cost of these balls is around $500 each plus freight. And second page, the picture below shows a wad of baby wipes. We use something similar with our social media. We had to have this suctioned out. It was hard to fathom what it does to sewage pump. This wasn't the only wad in the sewer station either. So we had a previous one from 2016. Not great to look at. The Lagoon results were good. The limits for the Lagoon readings are as follows. Lagoon 1, 200 milligrams of BDODs and 20 milligrams per liter of TSS. And basically Lagoon 2, 25 milligram per liter of CBODs and 25 milligram liter of TSS, and total suspended solids. Some bit of a legend there as well. We completed flushing sewers with the help of the fire truck from Bonnie River, and thank you to the fire department for allowing that work to continue. That's all we have.
I have a question. Some of the councillors who spend a lot of time on social media inform me that they have not seen a single of these ads coming across them. So I was wondering, should we actually try a different way? I mean, if we spend like $10,000 because people are putting them on there, should we actually put like one page in the mail, spend like $500 or less to actually send a notice to every house that it costs, here's the bill, you're gonna pay for it?
Yeah, we'll probably send a similar notice with the bills when they do come out. So that way there it is targeting the users versus, people from Penfield, not necessarily. So we will be sending something out with the actual bills that come out at the start of the year.
Yeah, because these are real money that we pay. I mean, if
Definitely.
Yeah. Any questions?
Should we order another one of these pumps? Did you say the replacement cost?
Brand new, they're $15,000. We typically will send them away to be serviced. It's great to have on hand. I'm not really always in favor of spending $15,000 to shelf something. However, we have a multiple number of sewage lift stations in town. Some municipalities may have only 5 or 6. We have a dozen plus. So it's something that it certainly is not going to get outdated sitting on the shelf, and, the last thing we want to do is have a sewage lift station, especially a busy one, go offline. So bypassing sewage lift stations is not something you want to do.
It's not like it's gonna deteriorate
No.
sitting on a shelf, but it would be bad if it goes down and you don't have one on the shelf to replace. The one that's down in the ground or wherever it is.
So are we better off to wait till next budget year to do it?
Um, You just never know. I guess we do have some funds that are sitting there for this year for 2021, conditional that we don't, for the next 3 weeks, have any water main breaks. I think that it's something that we try to play by ear to say, if things look good, I just would hate to see on December 31st or December 30th, we have a water main break. Because it's pretty much the cost of a water main break, a little bit more. So they are pretty expensive to have, but again, having stock on such an item that's pretty key is certainly important.
Following up on what Councillor Colton said, do you have any sense how the supply chain for municipal supplies, important supplies, how it is right now? Because from the business side, even for basic things like getting electrical cable to more other things like getting fans and heaters, things are chaotic. Have we talked to our suppliers to say, we expect to buy this, this, and that, how you are doing in terms of inventories or your supply chain?
Yeah, it's chaotic as well. Even with a pump, if we were to order one today and pay for it, we probably wouldn't see it for 6 to 8 weeks. A lot of what we're seeing now is material coming directly from the factory. It's not really hitting even the shelves of the middleman or distributors. A lot of the stuff's being purchased by the distributor directly from the factory, sent from the factory to the customer. So the supply lines are a mess right now, definitely.
Yeah, that's an additional reason to actually buy it now, because it gives us some insurance if something happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's $5,000, $10,000 bucks, but
Yeah.
with the situation as it is right now with the supply chain, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, it would definitely be used at some point.
Where do they come from?
Those ones, there's a couple of different suppliers that we do get them from. A lot of times they come out of the States. There's a maker in the States. I'm not sure what state it actually is, but U.S. The balls, the balls that are there come from Europe, so.
Okay, transportation report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Transportation report for the month of November. The veteran banners were taken down for another year. We had put up 10 additional ones just shortly before they came down. The Christmas banners were put up and the tree trimmed. A few sets needed replacement. We also ran new power to the tree, replacing the problematic line running to the manhole for the previous trees. So we went from one problem to another problem. The new sander was installed on the trackless. The front plow harness on the 3-ton was repaired and installed. All the vehicles are ready for winter. The one exception is the 1-ton, which needs a hydraulic booster, and it's leaking, and that's being repaired this month. We cleaned up the leaves on 3 separate occasions on Main Street, Riverview, and Hillcrest, and Brunswick Street. Some ditching work was done on Manor Road, Portage Street. Brushing was hauled away from the Portage Street as well. After the YMCA left the Civic Center, tables and chairs were put away, and some just repairs were done to the Macadavic Place. Some reclaim asphalt was hauled from the lagoon and placed in several washouts around town. 2 50K speed signs were installed on either end of Lateet Road. Crosswalk signs were moved closer to their walkways in 3 locations. The 1-ton should be replaced in 2022, 2023. It was purchased in 2014 and is getting to the point of multiple repairs. The street lights on Main Street should be considered for replacement. The bulbs, they are high pressure sodium and are getting harder and harder to find. We have ordered 6 for stock, but I'm not sure how many more they can get. We find that once we start replacing them, because they are so old that it's going to get continuous. MB Power used to, before they switched to LEDs, go through an area and replace them all at once. And just a sort of note on that, we have looked at different LEDs that sort of are not as this bright white, and those lights you can see are actually down at Eagle's Nest. They're bright LED white. Where on Main Street, having all the lampposts that bright white would be almost too bright. So we were hopeful. The City of St. John did something that was more or less like a high-pressure sodium tinge to it. However, they've had some problems with those LEDs. So we will be looking at sort of trying to replace those with an LED, hopefully in the new year. And that's all for the transportation report.
Surplus tractor sander,
The old sander?
put out for tender.
Sh-
Surplus to get rid of it.
Yeah, we can surplus it, yes. And all we would just need there is motion of council to move that to surplus.
I'll
and we
make
can-
that motion to move to surplus.
I'll second it.
Let's go through the procedure. Like I don't even know what we're talking about now. And now,
Technically, surplus sander,
what's that?
surplus sander,
The old one.
the old one.
Okay. Okay, let's interrupt the flow. We have a motion to actually put the surplus sander, declare it surplus, and I guess sell it, right? So we have a motion.
I made the
It
motion.
was seconded.
I made the
No, I
motion.
second it.
Okay. Any questions about this? Okay. All those in favor?
Right.
Aye.
So you have a sander to sell. I just want to ask you, low sodium lights, do they still exist?
They do.
They do, because they are much more efficient than LEDs. There has been a political debate about why they are phasing out the LEDs when there is an existing. I mean, they had some problem with, I think, light pollution, but they are more efficient electrically than the LEDs.
Right, yeah. And as far as even a casting of a light on a street light, they seem to be more of a
Broader, yeah.
broader, yes, yeah.
So, how we are governed when it comes to light replacements or light installations?
Really, with the low-pressure sodium bulbs for what we have on Main Street, it's going to be more of a supply issue. It's difficult getting them because there is such a push on LEDs.
Yeah.
Just like, walking into Walmart and trying to find the old type of bulbs, they don't exist anymore. So it's more or less the supply will start to run out in a push to LED.
So you said the ones at the Eagle's Nest are the LED?
They are, yeah,
Those things are bright, bright.
they are bright,
If you put those on the front street, you'll have so many cars in the poles that it
Yeah.
would be funny.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
can you get them any dimmer?
We are looking at some different ones. City of St. John has done some, sort of low.
Yeah, but they didn't work, you said.
Yeah, that's sort of it. So we're waiting to see what they resolve for their uptown lighting going to LED. So we will be reaching out to them to see what they've done recently.
I know a year and a half ago, Westinghouse declared that they are moving out of the business of producing them, and everybody went with the existing inventories. There are a few Chinese factories who still make, but
Yeah,
the chance of being able to sustain a solution which is energy efficient more than the LEDs is just dying out. Okay, and with that thing, we close the transportation report and we move to bills paid and payable. Item 8, in the amount of $283,041. I guess this is the time where we ask questions.
Page 2 of 5. 46249. Oh, 46250, sorry.
Page 2 of 5, okay?
Yeah,
Right here.
46250. 17373, what is that?
What was it, 46 to
250.
50?
It's office supplies, it's Staples, but what,
Well, Staples, yes. Yeah.
is that something similar somebody else uses, or?
Staples?
No, it says right here, rural municipality of Alberta.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's right here. 17373.
That's a good question. The rural municipalities of Alberta in relation to Staples, for those who didn't see the question. We have managed to, the municipalities in New Brunswick were given a contact with the provincial government to be able to work with this group out of Alberta to be able to increase buying power basically across Canada in an effort to reduce prices. So we get a discount on our office supplies from the same place we always buy them, but instead of paying Staples directly, the bill goes collectively through RMA, and then they bill us for our portion.
Okay. And there's savings?
Depending on the item, yeah, I checked it out. Depending on the item, we're looking at anywhere from 10 to 25% savings.
Okay.
So there is definitely
Yeah,
savings.
thank you.
That's weird.
Five of five. Right at the top, 46288.
Yes.
Is that something other than normal that we normally do? It's different?
Portion of the cleaning for November.
Yeah,
So they will be taking over paying for cleaning
okay.
for the town.
No, that was my other question.
Yeah.
That was changed. Okay. Thank you.
That's for the doctor's office?
Yes.
Yeah. 6530, page 2 of 3, to the next section. Could that have been done locally?
Rust control?
Yeah. There's a outlet in St. Stephen.
Yeah. In
Or
St.
maybe it's
Stephen.
all the same. So-
Yeah, it is all the same pricing, St.
Okay.
Stephen and St. John. I guess the thing is, they will come down.
Okay, they came here and done, it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And just down below that, 6532. How many gloves did you buy?
That's quite,
That's a pile of money for,
that's about 2 years' supply of
okay,
gloves.
okay.
Yeah. These are like a daily work
Yep.
glove.
Okay.
Yeah.
And 6546, right at the end. That's getting pretty expensive.
Yep.
Keeps going up. Like, that's more than the
Yeah.
last time we used it?
We would have probably been a 1 month usage,
Okay.
right? The
Is
month
there
of
a cheaper
November.
way to do that?
Not really for a lift, right? Buying our own, perhaps.
Yeah, what does one cost if you buy your own?
Well, that's, how many times a year do we do it?
Yeah,
Well, that's what I'm
This
saying.
is about
It's
4 times.
yeah.
spring, fall, Veterans Day, Christmas time, graduation.
Is that what they
And all
charge
points
us
in
all the
between.
time, Jason?
Yeah, pretty much. The prices have gone up.
Yeah, that's a little more.
That's a more than, yeah,
Yeah.
more than I thought
They-
it was.
Well, if it's an average, it'll say $3,000, because prices are always gonna go up if you use it 8 times a year.
Yeah, we try to use it only about 3 times a year,
Yeah, 3, 4.
usually. We try to.
Try, but
That's
Yeah.
10 grand. It's a payment.
Any other questions? Well, if we don't have any other question, I will move that we, also, I need a motion to approve the bills paid and payable.
I'll
So,
second it.
and all in favor? Moving on to new businesses. 9A is the award, an RFP, a request for proposal for audit services. An update?
Yes, Your Worship. So this would be for 2021-04 audit services. So we sent an RFQ. We did 4 specific invites as well as public advertising for doing audit. Would be the audit that would be done in 2022 on the current year. We only received 1 submission, and that was from Teat Saunders Doyle, who's actually the same company that's did for 2020 our 2020 audit. I know their submissions were received, and it is the same rate that we've had in previous years as well.
So just to understand, are we ready to award it now?
Yeah, it's just we need a motion from council to award that.
So, just so I can understand, there was several proposals? There was only one?
Yep, just one RFQ that was sent out, and
Oh, so we sent several, but we got one?
that's right.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay, so, are there any questions before we put it to, no? Okay. So I need a motion to approve the,
I'll move that we award the tender for audit services for 2022 to Teat Saunders and Doyle in the amount of $13,230.
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Issuing of RFP for land for site development for a apartment complex, RFP 2021-05. An update?
Yes, Your Worship. So this would be a request for proposals for a parcel of land the town owns out on Brunswick Street. It's around, just behind 68 Brunswick Street. It's an area of about 1.24 hectares. And so what we're doing with this RFP is we're seeking proposals for a apartment complex consisting of no less than 30 units. Phase construction is accepted. However, we will need construction to commence by December of next year, December 2022, and be completed by June 2024. So this would be, looking, the RFP's been shared with council. This would be to basically publicize this RFP to get it out and seek proposals for this property.
Can I ask how we put this RFP out? Like we send it to individuals,
For this one, we would send it to individuals as well as advertising publicly, and usually pick the St. Croix Courier as well as on our website. Not usually, no.
Do you have any questions before we put into vote? So I need a motion to approve the resolution for issuing the RFP.
I make that motion to issue an RFP for 2021-05 land for site development.
Seconded? Any seconds?
I'll second it.
Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Good. It's just a logistical thing. Can we move on with all the numbers up to I, and then we can open the presentation for you, or you like the presentation now?
Let's get the rest of it done.
Let's get the rest of that. That's
Do
fine.
the recitation, because Alex should just talk.
Okay, well, it's up to you.
4087, is that what you're referring to, Mr. Worker?
Yes, I'm referring to
He's here, and we'd like.
to
Yeah. I agree.
Okay. So let's move on to the resolution. I'm sorry, to item D, resolution of the council to transfer 5,400 from the utility operating fund to the utility capital reserve fund to comply with replacement reserve requirement for sewer at Lagoon in accordance to Canada and B infrastructure program.
I thought we were, I'm sorry. May
Yes.
I thought we were gonna go through save since Alex is here right now.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. So let's have the presentation from Jason.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the drafted bylaw of bylaw number 87 is a development incentive bylaw. So with this bylaw, we're looking at targeting two types of development. One would be a residential multi-unit development. That would be apartment buildings of 4 apartments or larger in the town of St. George. The other would be a commercial development. Both of these types of development would be what's called infilling. There wouldn't be any need for new infrastructure. Water, sewage would already be going by these properties, so there wouldn't be a big investment of installing water and sewage pipes or building roads. So these would be really what we call infilling. Similar type of incentives have been made to these, most recently in St. Stephen. St. Stephen, I think they added maybe industrial park development. Our industrial park is, at this point right now, sort of at capacity, so that's why it's really not of an interest to the town. It is fairly complex, just in the sense that it's a grant, especially when it comes to the grant formulas. There's certain requirements that are needed for these to receive these incentives, and there's certainly bonus points as well to be received. I guess one thing is for council to look at the grant formula. The chart 2 is sort of an example of $1,000 incremental property value increase. $1 million incremental property value increase. And sort of that's what it would look like. So we'd have to see as well, the property value is tied to this incentive. The property value would go up an X amount of dollars after this development is developed, after the property receives some development. So the funds for this comes from general tax revenue. So that's where this would be received from. So the first year on $1 million, there is, the return on investment is, we won't still see the return on investment. It's spanned out over a 10-year period. The first couple of years, the return of that property, of increased value, we'll still receive some, but we won't receive the full value of that property. It'll be greater in the first couple of years for this grant, and as it gets closer to the 10th year, after the 10th year falls off, and then we receive the full benefits of this project on that property. So it's spanned over 10 years currently. If Alex wants to jump in to add any more details.
Before Alex
Yep.
takes the floor, I just want to understand this proposal, because it's a very technical proposal, was spun out of the Service Commission or by us wanting to do something?
Certainly by us. I mean,
So
the housing.
my point is, if it is up to the town to have incentives to actually entice new residential development, low cost or high cost, because we're going to get more taxes, or new commercial development, is there any particular reason for which we have to go to this intricate labyrinth of so many points for that, and so many points for that, and so many for that, and by that year, instead of saying to everybody, the town of St. George needs housing. We are prepared to actually give to any investor who's going to invest either $100,000 or $100 million, these kinds of things up to that threshold. Why we are going through this labyrinth of little details and excluding people and including others?
Well, certainly because it's a bylaw, it is available to everybody that would be developing these type of projects. I guess, we haven't really gone to anything like this in the town's history. We've sort of done projects where a developer comes in, we try to work with them to say, what can we do for rebates to work with you. This here does lay everything out to say, to any developer, whether they're in Vancouver, Toronto, or St. John, town of St. George is looking for multi-unit residential apartment buildings or commercial space, and we have an incentive tied to that. It does seem, when you start reading through pages, it looks to be pretty, I guess, busy, but it's for a variety of reasons that it's that way. I mean, could it be simplified? I'm sure it could be simplified. I guess I've tried to simplify it, and we are looking at as well, even St. Stephen.
If we go that direction, the service commission would just grow because they are professionals and they like detail. But I'm just saying, here we have a developer watching us today. I'm just wondering, suppose that he has an idea of actually building an apartment or a house or a subdivision or whatever. Why we don't use as a principle that we're going to make it open to anyone who wants to invest in St. George, either for new businesses or for new housing, and we have a way through the tax reimbursement to actually cover some of his upfront costs or whatever they are proposing. I just want, now the floor is yours. Now I put my point.
Some good questions, and I think was Jason's saying, one of the things that's nice about having a development incentive bylaw, I mean, it's a bylaw that just adopts this, here's the policy, because it's kind of more of a policy of how you approach it. There's a little bit of flexibility in there. But one of the things that I think the CEO had mentioned, which I think a lot of local governments run across, is the sort of ad hoc nature of negotiating with the developer as opposed to doing something where you have put in very specific streams of what you want and what is going to be fiscally responsible for the municipality in the long run. So infill development, that's a really key one, because where you already have frontage and you already have services running in front of it, vacant lots in town are just lost opportunity, economic opportunity for the town. It's also, by filling in as opposed to growing out, you're actually being far more environmentally responsible. It takes up far less energy for people to travel to community services when everybody's using the space in the town, accessing the services in the town, as opposed to growing out ever more. So the infill side of it helps certainly in terms of municipality not having to extend services out to these places that will be serviced outside. So this is a key thing, but it really, my role was to suggest, if you're going to be looking at this, because Jason picked up that St. Stephen had developed something like this, my role is simply to say to Jason, let's look at how the St. George municipal plan, the current one, not the one that we're in drafting stages on, the current one, which still has a lot of really great advice and good development direction for St. George, what would it say about a development incentive bylaw? So I went through the St. George municipal plan and looked at what does it encourage in terms of development for St. George. So I gave Jason a number of recommendations. So when it comes to commercial, for example, well, it's not just every commercial development gets money or a grant of some kind. It's specifically commercial that is adding a new retail element to the town, because that is a key thing for St. George, is adding a diversity of retail options. So that could be incentivized. Additionally, development that's encouraging the design of the downtown. So you see a lot of design elements like defined cornice, traditional building materials, transparent window coverage on the ground floor, entrances close to the sidewalk. It's about a vibrant downtown. So these are the kinds of things you'd want to incentivize versus developments which are okay to have and, all right to have these types of services, but they're not the key developments that are really going to help St. George thrive. So it's zeroing in and pretty laser focused on things that municipal plan calls for already to encourage, and things which are going to be fiscally responsible and things which environmentally responsible. So that's the kind of focus of it. It doesn't preclude you from, and if you go into the beginning, it doesn't preclude you from entering into an agreement with the developer, But what it recommends is that if you're going to, say, offer a developer money or land to help them make their development more fiscally possible, like so that they can actually make their pro forma work when they're doing a budget for their proposed development, well, then you should probably deduct that if they're also going to be applying for this. You don't want to be spending more money on a project than you'd ever return in your taxes. So actually, you're not supposed to do that by New Brunswick law. You're not supposed to return someone's taxes. What this is actually doing is not returning their taxes. It's looking at a program. It's a grant. Of course, it does come out of general revenue, so it is all tax money in the end, but it's actually looking at it from the idea of here's our program grant, and we're granting out for these specific criteria. So that's what it's really about. This came through in St. Stephen through their Future St. Stephen Economic Development Group, and they looked at a lot of best practices across New Brunswick, including Miramichi and Moncton. So they really spearheaded it there. We were involved for the very same reason to say, how would this look in our municipal plan context? And so I came in and helped St. Stephen to put in context of their municipal plan, say how would you make a bylaw that incentivizes the thing that council really wants to see grow. And that's what we gave to St. Stephen, that input. Is the same thing with Jason when he picked up when that St. Stephen was doing this. So we did the same thing here.
And I guess just to add a couple things there too. I mean, we've heard time and time again that we need to be competitive. We're one community out of thousands across this country, and we are getting into a development boom. I've had phone calls from people that are downtown Bay Street asking, what's going on in St. George. St. George was brought up. So we need to be competitive in that sense. We can't no longer have the day where we just say, well, if they want to come to St. George, they can build, and they come see us if they're really interested for some sort of an incentive. I think this sends a good message out to those developers saying, look, this is what we're looking for: apartment buildings and commercial space to revitalize downtown, but also on our main streets for commercial operations. We've had countless inquiries over the last year, people just looking for 1,200 square feet or 3,000 square feet. We have right now an entity that's looking for 3,000 square feet in St. George, and there's nothing. We have no retail space. That does help. That does match what the municipal plan is looking for as well. The other point is that down the road, if this, if we're saying, well, we're all done with this, we've had too much development. I hope that's all right. That's a good situation. This can be repealed as well. We're not going to be tied to this forever and a day, but it does send the message. I mean, tonight council approved an RFP for a 30-unit apartment building, a development incentive. These are great things that, when things do change, if they are changing with local government reform, we're setting things up for a future of development in this area to remain certainly the main center of this new entity, to keep developing. I mean, certainly that's sort of we want to look as long-term. Anything we do, whether it's 11 months or 11 years or 111 years, we try to look long-term to say, what can we do to, spur on growth right now. As I mentioned, there's lots of development going on. There's a keen interest with people that are calling the town, looking for space. I mean, I just talked to a landowner today that has had 3 inquiries on his property in a vacant piece on Brunswick Street. So there's definitely people out there that are working and trying to find space to develop. We need to sort of do a little more igniting of that flame to get things developing, or we're going to miss the bus. COVID's going to be done, and we're going to be on to regular business. And if St. George is not really where people are developing, developers will go elsewhere. If it's, as I said, it's a competitive for dollars and cents.
Can I ask you, you mentioned the infill priority. Suppose that there is an existing property and someone is prepared to put money, whether it is in Main Street or on Riverview Avenue or whatever, and somebody is prepared to actually invest money to actually upgrade it so it will have more housing or a business or whatever. Why we exclude this type of investment from the incentives that we are planning here?
Well, mainly because of the investment that would be needed for water and sewage. So we want to find quick return now. And when water and sewage projects typically take a year, 2 years to get moving. If someone came in today and they said, look, I have a 100-acre piece of property, I want to put an apartment building, a couple subdivisions, it's going to take a while to get that water and sewage in. It's not something that's just easily going to happen within a season. This is why, this stuff can be amended as well, and we can add in different things as time goes on, but this is sort of, again, to start that spark of what we're looking for quickly, and that's apartment buildings and the commercial space.
I'm curious to hear Councilor Armstrong if he has any thoughts about it, because you are in the real estate business in some way.
Well, Jason kind of answered the question, because I guess my curiosity when I read it, I did find it difficult to understand, unfamiliar ground. But I wondered why you were just focusing on the two types, why you couldn't do like garden home, a developer who would want garden homes perhaps, or something of that nature. Why does it have to be particular to apartment buildings and commercial?
Yeah, and really, it's anything that's 4 or more rental units. So it could be garden homes.
But garden homes are quite often ownership as well.
Right, can be, exactly.
They can be,
Yeah.
So that does limit the opportunity when it's just rental only.
Right, that's a good point. Yeah. So it can be more or less a multi-unit, a multi-unit complex. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So I don't know-
For those who, actually, go ahead, I'm speaking last, go ahead.
Oh, no, did you want to fill?
No, I
finish? Okay.
think, yeah.
I don't know if this is a question for Alex or for Jason. So for example, in section 4, stream B, when we're talking about commercial development, you mentioned it how for businesses, you're looking for a commercial development that doesn't already exist in the community, right? And then part B, it says, but if I understood correctly, it can be one of these businesses that already exists as long as it has at least 5 of the following designs, right?
That's right.
So, but my question would be is why should council have a say in terms of competition? Why should we have a say in terms of what businesses would exist? The market should dictate how many businesses, what businesses are here, right?
It should.
Does that make sense?
It should,
Okay.
yes. And I guess if you're a business owner and you have a business, you're going to look for the biggest return yourself. So if you're coming to Charlotte County, for example, you're going to put it in St. George where there's at least an incentive program, or you're going to go to maybe St. Stephen, which has an incentive program as well, but maybe a bad example. But I guess an incentive program like this would entice those type of businesses to set up shop. We've done without for the last 10, 50 years, and really we see what we're into the situation now. We just need to add. We need to add more commercial square footage to the town. We definitely need that. We've seen that over and over again this year. We constantly are playing the shell game of moving the shells around, but we need more shells in the system. We need more inventory, and so I guess anything to spark that interest. Just thinking of it today, there are places on Main Street that they would be prime commercial space that is not being utilized today. That can maybe, one of those shops can revitalize the downtown and, bring people here.
And then the second question I had, it was with the incentive formula, D, it was calculated for St. George Economic Development to be 0.01%. So with the amalgamation, what's going to happen, in 10 months from now? How will that rate change?
I have to probably revisit it. I guess we really don't know at this point. We're only going off of the facts that we know today. If it does have to be amended at some other time, then it may have to be.
What I find, that question applies to both of you. What I find a bit difficult is that deciding on what music the orchestra on the Titanic is going to play while you hit the iceberg is kind of not a priority. So same as the committees, same as this. Should we, now that we have the discussion, should we put as a first priority to actually talk to the commissariat who's going to come from the capital to give us some direction about should we bother with this, or it's highly inappropriate for the trustees in bankruptcy to decide who's going to do the shop after the takeover? I find this a very, very important prerequisite. Otherwise, we are all busy people.
I guess the thing is, what we know are facts today. You know, we're hearing that things are going to be passed in Fredericton, and I think that, for if we only have a few months as an entity to make some big impacts, having some sort of focused development happening in this community versus, not doing RFPs, not doing incentive programs, and waiting to see what Fredericton's going to say, we may be missing the boat by months on some of these things.
I'm just worrying about the liabilities of the local residents. If we actually overstep our horizon and we commit to something that may not be able to deliver, then somebody may be able to come and sue the town or the residents of this town for what will not happen. Can I ask you, have we ever, I know that there is a province, have we ever had any discussion with our lawyer who we pay to actually give us advice as to what we should be watching in the next 3, 4, 5 months as to what can and we cannot do?
Yeah, no, we haven't. I guess, we can certainly ask that question, but I don't know of any lawyer that would be able to give advice right now where it's so new. Unless they're a member of the government, I guess, maybe they may have some insider information, but I don't think there's any lawyers that are out there in New Brunswick right now that are be able to say, this is what I fully advise that's going to happen over the next few months. We can wait and see in January and February, what the mediator is going to say and what comes out of the actual, third and final reading with this. My concern is, there are developers that are looking at St. George today. Even another month, another 2 months, they may say, time to go to some other community. And I guess, why would we want that to happen for our own community and wait on the province to make that decision for us? I guess, to me, its urgency is today to get some of this development done. I wouldn't be waiting for the province to come in and say, yeah, you're good to go to do development. Meanwhile, we've lost opportunity.
The only thing which I have as a final comment, and then we can actually move on, unless there are more questions to put to Jason, is it possible to actually get a layman's version of this bylaw in terms of as a percentage of investment, what are the grants and
I think that's probably chart 2 would be showing,
Well, there are many what if, and if it completes one of the following 5, and you're getting 2 bonus points if you turn left here, and 3 points if you go straight. So it's not a straightforward document. It's a very, very, like the kind of document that a professional planner is going to put out. It's beyond my ability to actually grasp things. So I would have liked to see something much simpler, something that can be summarized in 1 page or 2, and we can take a look, and then we can have the first reading next time.
Yep, definitely. We can put something together.
Yeah.
A briefing, yeah.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Alex, so are all of the other communities, are they still going on with their planning as up to what you know of as of right now? Like St. Stephen, they're still moving forward with stuff. So Blacks Harbor is still moving forward, so it's not gonna hurt us if we start, just to get the process working with it. And
No, all the communities I've been working with, they're all continuing on. I think they're valid questions, however, I'm not, don't want to be dismissive of that. No, I think there's a lot of value in moving forward, and even, as I said, even with the planning side of things, if that's a lesson, this is a local governance act bylaw, if there's a lesson here for a local governance act, I would assume there'd be a similar situation. That what we put in place now is still going to have some relevance and transitionary power in the new entity. So, no, I don't know exactly how that will look for this, even more, or even less than the planning. So there's a lot of unknowns, but
I just feel if we don't start, I agree with Jason, if we don't start something, then we are gonna be in the back end. And that's what we want. We wanna develop home housing. We wanna develop stuff so that our town will stay and grow. And I just feel we need to move forward.
Yeah, no, I'm all for it, and I just want to make sure that, for example, if Mr. Armstrong there wants to put 10 houses there, he will have some sort of an access to the same incentives that the elaborate plan through points and all that will have. I just want to make it broadly accessible to any investor who wants to invest in St. George, either for housing or for businesses. And the less government specs there are, I believe the more attractive the package is, because people are in general suspicious when they hear, we are from the government, we are here to help. The simpler it can be, the better it's going to be. That's and I have been in business quite some time to believe that simplicity can help. So yes, hopefully after Jason does this simplification, we're going to be like maybe a month late. That's not a critical failure in any ways. Okay, I propose that we move to, no, actually, I don't propose, I will move on to the transferring, let me see. Is D. Yeah, a resolution of council to transfer $5,400 from the utility operating fund to the utility capital reserve fund to comply with the replacement reserve requirement for the Suez Lagoon in accordance to the Canada-New Brunswick Infrastructure Program Project 6338025001. Just to start this agenda item, Jason, can you give us a 5-line description of what's the project 6338025001?
Yes, Your Worship. So this is an annual occurrence. We're required under that project that was for the residential lagoon build many years ago. We were required to maintain a utility capital reserve fund should the lagoon suffers, failure, or should it have to be replaced. So each year we're kind of mandated under that receiving those money. That was sort of one of the conditions tied to that fund to put $5,400 into this utility capital reserve fund. So I guess that's the gist of that.
So did we spend the money somewhere and now we have to replace it?
No, it's just we budget it every year. Even for 2022, we put $5,400 is on a line item. So each year we budget to put this money out of our regular utility account into another reserve bucket.
Reserve. Okay. For the residential lagoon.
For the lagoons, yes, yeah.
For the residential lagoon.
Yeah.
Actually, the lagoons are lagoons. They are not residential.
Yes.
Lagoons are lagoons. Okay. Okay. Any questions? Sam? Any questions? No. Okay. So I need a motion for the resolution.
I'll make the motion to transfer $5,400 to the account.
I'll second it.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Item E, transferring of funds from general operating fund to the general capital reserve fund.
Your Worship, so this is if we're having a great year, this is usually a good item. So this year we budgeted we're forecasting for a surplus for the 2021 year. So we have two choices. One, we can just leave it, and then we see it as a second-year surplus, which would then impact the town or some entity in 2023. Or we could choose to put it into reserves, which can be spent as soon as 2022. It's certainly my recommendation to take the surpluses that we have this year, which right now we're forecasting at a little over $300,000. It's quite a considerable amount of money, and I guess, so I'll just finish my point. So it is my recommendation that we put those into reserves for use in 2020, as early as 2022 versus waiting to 2023 for surplus. The over 300,000, so it's about $310,000 in our general fund that we're forecasting for surplus. So a lot of that is from building permits, PGAPs, funds that we've received for the pandemic, tourism levies that we have on allotted, sales of truck that we sold this year, surplus items. Everything is accumulated to just $310,000. So typically, if we usually have six figures, we typically will put it into a reserve. Usually if it's less than that, we typically will put it into a second-year surplus and let it hit the books in a couple of years. So even if there was no changes to local government, my recommendation would be to put it into reserves because of the sum that it is. I'm more so stressing to put it into reserves for 2022 usage, given light of changes to the local government reforms. This is funds that we could use next year in 2022
Okay.
to be
So
used.
we can use these funds in 2022
Yes.
by transferring them.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good point. Another question?
So the figure would be $295,000 for to be moved to general capital reserves, and that would be one motion, and then the other motion would be that would be required would be a transferring of $15,000 to general operation reserve, and that has some limits on it. It's more for daily operations. We can only keep 5% of our annual budget into that type of reserve. We just usually split it, but they're both going to reserves.
The general capital reserve is set for capital investments, right?
Yes.
So essentially, if we want next year to spend, say, X amount on an operating expense, that we cannot touch that.
That's right, I wouldn't touch that side, no. Yeah. Operating, but we do have, right now, we have a little over $90,000. If we add another $15,000, we'll have a healthy operational reserve. But again, we're kind of capped on that. It's only 5% of your annual budget. So, the rest of it we'd want to put into
No,
capital reserves.
capital reserve may be a well place to put, because, that may be our last chance to actually fix things that need to be fixed before we surrender the castle to.
We've had a year of 2021 where, we didn't do a whole lot in terms of, road work.
Yes,
There's a number of things that we need to look at for roads, other types of investments that we could be looking at down the road as well.
Okay. I don't have any more questions. Anybody can put a motion for
I'll
it?
make a motion. That we move $295,000 from the general operating fund to the capital reserve fund.
I'll second that.
Do you want us to actually specify also this portion for the operating thing?
What's the second?
That would be the second motion, yeah.
Or that would be a second motion, okay. So the first motion for that Councilor Rubin put and was seconded. All in favor? So the second half of that is we're still on the same point.
So, yeah, the second motion we'd need would be to take $15,000 and transfer that to general operation reserve.
Motion,
I'll make that motion.
okay. All in favor? Item F is a resolution of council for support of a year-round ferry service for Capabello. Just to introduce it, there was an announcement of potentially cutting down the support to that ferry, and several businesses in our region are require that direct connection between Canada and Canada for buying stuff in Canada. So as a community, as a town, I have a resolution of this council to send it to the Premier and the Minister of responsible for funding the service, but we support it. So Anybody wants to speak to it, or can actually put the motion directly? Okay, we have, can I have a motion, please, for,
I'll make the motion.
okay. This is a motion for,
I'll second it.
second from the, okay. So, are there any questions about the resolution letter that our CEO drafted?
Jason, is that something like the letter we already sent before?
It'd be very similar in ways. We've done that before, showing support for the Campobello Ferry, and we certainly, we'll draft something and we'll share it with council before we send it, certainly highlighting, the relationship and, for businesses benefiting from Campobello residents coming through.
Coming through, yeah, okay.
So I'll put the question to the floor, of the resolution. All in favor? We are going to the item G, distribution of annual second half of the Charlotte County Boys and Girls Club Fund for 2021. We have some money and we have some candidates, right? So, do you want to introduce it, Jason, and we can take it
Sure,
from
sure.
there?
So this would be the second half of the Boys and Girls Club of Charlotte County Gold Rush funding. So this is from funds that they raise through their Gold Rush program. So as of today, there's $6,000. We haven't received any December proceeds, so we just have to go off of what we know. So $6,000. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 submissions for funds, and some of them are asking for $2,000. Some of them are asking for as much as possible. What we did sort of in June. Basically, we divvied up the total of $5,000 amongst the applicants, and it's about $714 to each applicant. So that's sort of what we did the last time. So we could do that this time. Everyone would get $1,000, or we could look at individual programming.
I just think it's fair that we just divide it up amongst them all. Just each, take all 6 groups, divide the 6,000, each one gets $1,000. It's fair, then no one can say this person got this amount, this person got that amount. They all get the same amount.
How many of these are new applicants? Did they tell me?
How many are new?
How many are new?
2.
How many have been there before?
Out of the 6, I think there was 4 new.
I'm a bit sensitive, and I just want to say that we are in a period where things are happening that affect certain groups more than others. Last time, Councilor Colton mentioned about the breakfast club, and we are getting into the days where these things are becoming more and more vivid in the reality of our community. So I was just thinking if there is any way we can actually boost this component a bit more. Because there is a real need. I mean, they are all good, worthy causes. Just because we had the same discussion about giving them equally so everybody's happy, but last time we exercised some discretion about giving to those who need it most. And I'm just wondering if there is any councillor who believes that there is a group in there out of the 6 who deserves to get perhaps double than what the other 5 get. That's the expert on that.
I'm just looking at them, just thinking that,
I do have a question. It's a question around the St. George Home and School. I know that we have given partially a playground already to them, and we also upped our donation to them in our budget. So how much have we given them so far? For
current
the new
year?
playground?
For the new playground, we've given them a piece of equipment, and we're budgeted to give them
It was $2,000.
2,000, yeah, 2,000 in
And it was
2022.
2005, it was $1,000 for their breakfast program.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
okay.
So that's 3,000.
So with this 1,000, this will be 3,000 plus a portion of the playground.
You know, I guess that's, you know, the point is too, this Boys and Girls Club is not town money. So this is actually just something where it's sort of
Oh, I
the,
see, yes.
we're sort of like we're the middle person, tasked with distribution of funds, so.
Yes, I did forget about that, I'm sorry.
I mean, you know, the breakfast initiative is a real need, and it's becoming much more real in the days that we are living with food inflation and all that. So I was just wondering, can we, for example, $6,000 you said, and instead of giving like, can we give to that group twice that or 3 times that and split the other one equals?
But they didn't put in for
They
it, the
didn't.
breakfast
There's no-
program
it's
didn't
just
put in for it this time.
The only food program
just for
we
the
have there
playground.
is the
It's only for
Eastern
playground.
Charlotte Lions Club now, see.
Don't forget, this isn't our money, right?
No.
Like, this came from the Boys and Girls Club, so all this money that we've got is money that goes back to the boys and girls in our areas. So this is all over, like, in our area, it would be like, people in the canal would be getting use out of it. People in St. George, people in Back Bay, it's all the people in the different surrounding areas, of people that pay a toonie every week to have their number drawn or whatever. So that's why I feel we should just divide it equally, and then no one can say that your favoritism one over the other.
Okay, so we have a motion to actually split, second it.
Like you're putting that as a motion to give them each 1,000.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Yeah. So all in favor of it?
Aye.
Okay, so it was split in equal parts. Item 8 is the speed radar traffic sign. Jason, yes, please. Yeah.
Yes, Your Worship. So this is, we currently have installed a LED powered radar sign. It's on Riverview Avenue right now. It's on a promotion. So we received it free of charge on a promotion up until the December 15th. So the manufacturer or the wholesaler has come back and offered that to the town at a price of $4,550 plus HST, but $4,700. So I guess, that was, it's been raised before about speeding on Riverview and whether or not it's a desire for the town to keep that sign, to acquire it, or to have it removed and sent back.
It's a data logger also, right?
It's a data, yeah, it does.
It's a data logger.
Yes.
It not only shows you the speed, but also it records, so you can go back and say what's happening in this area. That's an important point. Okay, and what you are asking us to do, to approve the,
So it would be we either have a motion to approve or purchase, or we don't, it'll be sent back.
Send back.
So is it movable, or is it
Yes.
just going to be on Riverview Avenue?
Yeah, I think we've always figured it can be movable,
Yeah, 'cause
just like any
that's
sign
not the
is.
only place that there's speeding.
That's right,
You know.
that's right, it can be moved.
Just so I can understand, how easy is it to move?
Not impossible, it's,
No, I'm saying like, if Leonard goes
Yeah.
there with his crew, can he do it like in one afternoon
yes,
to move to another place? So it is movable.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, I'll put a motion in to keep it and,
Well, I
because,
have something to
Oh, you
say
have it, okay,
first, I
yeah.
think. I'd like to speak.
go ahead.
And it's just something that I've dialogued together, and it's, speeding on our streets, why are we allowing it? We've known for a very, very long time that St. George has a serious speeding problem. In fact, on the 23rd of September, There was a formal complaint made against the town for the lack of speeding enforcement and the lack of off-road enforcement, particularly on Riverview Avenue. As I've stated, one of my main platforms during the election campaign was to do everything in my power to find solutions to make our streets safe, and I do intend to honor that. For the September regular council meeting, a delegation for speeding issue was presented, and at that time, an ad hoc committee was put together with the mandate of simply searching out everything that is possible to address this problem in our community. It was approved, then the complaint came and it was disbanded. September, October, November, and December has passed us by and we've done really nothing on this. Now, we do have the pilot project on loan that is set up in Riverview Avenue, but as we heard, it's due to go back on the 15th. It's been there since the 27th of September, both on visual and on stealth mode, just so we could determine how effective it actually has been. I was very disappointed to learn after I had made a request to access the data that we have on loan, and I was refused. I was given screenshots of a few graphs and a little bit of the speed numbers, and there was reference in an email that the average speed was being only 50 kilometer with the odd time peaking at 118 kilometers. However, that was only late at night and early in the morning. I can't comment on that because I wasn't able to access it. However, based on what I was provided, we've had speeds going as fast as 137 kilometers an hour. On September 29th, 133 kilometers. October 17th, 137 kilometers. October 30th, 130 kilometers. Remembrance Day, 126 kilometers. In 60 days, we've had 65,000 people, and 34 of them were breaking the law. When vehicles are traveling in the residential neighborhoods at 137 kilometers per hour, we do have a problem. And I know that it's not just on Riverview, it just happens to be there. But we're putting, we have people that are being at risk. Anyway, I plead to the council that we've been voted in by the residents of St. George to represent them. It's our responsibility to make sure that each and every resident, no matter how old or young, is safe. And you know what? Today, I don't think we're doing that. The presentation was given, and we had the facts. Now with the pilot project, it's actually worse. We need to do something. And we can't do it tomorrow. We're not going to do it next year. We need to do it now. 52 out of 60 days, people were driving in excess of 90 to 137 kilometers. Now, the speed radar sign is just one part of that puzzle, and I understand that. But has the RCMP have they been given this information? Have they been informed at all? The email I received stated that it was in the late night, early morning hours. If that is true, it seems to me they wouldn't be that hard to find. Jason has been provided with the Stinson TC600 for the cost of $4,500. In my research, I've actually found another one that gives us the same information. It's 12 inches. It's one that's being used in Fredericton, St. John, Rothsay, and different areas in New Brunswick. And it gives the 3 digits. It flashes red when you're violating your speed, and it's only $3,429. It comes with a package, a data package, for one whole year that you can go in and get the data. It's movable. It's solar with battery packs. And with your data package, if you don't want the data package in 1 year, you don't have to get it. You have access. If you have line of sight, you have access to get into the data without the data package, if you have a password and the appropriate things.
I just have a question to ask. The alternative that you are proposing, the 3,700, is a service as opposed to an out.
It's the same type of system that we have now. It's the screened system.
Yes.
It looks just like this. I'll pass one around, pass it down. It's solar, it's battery packed. It also can add, when the legislation goes through, you can add the traffic camera to it so that they can snap the license plate picture and eventually send the ticket off. It has that capability to add to that.
My question to you was, the alternative, which is $1,000 or so cheaper, is a service. So essentially, after the first year, in order to maintain access to the data, you have to pay.
The data service is $425 yearly. They offer that service 1 year for free.
For free, but after that, it's $455.
$425 as of today, yes.
You mentioned one thing which kind of taken me aback. You asked for the data from the existing thing and you did not get it?
I did not get it, no.
I believe that every person has a right under the access to information to get it.
Well, I
Is there
was
any reason,
refused.
Jason, that is that not a public information?
Is it public information? Yeah, it's information
I think it's
that's shared.
I think it's a public information. I mean, it better be. I mean, it is not personal information. It's just, statistics of what's happening in our town at this time. The only point that I'm going to take, I guess, a moment to differentiate my opinion on everything that you said, is that after this presentation, there was indeed some action from the RCMP. There were, I have seen the RCMP car writing tickets to the point that now when I drive there, I'm not a speeder, but I always have something on the back of my mind. This is where now they are looking for. And I also got, and I must say, I got a phone call from one resident who wanted to leave a message to the mayor that the RCMP is doing a good job. So I just want to say that there has been some sensitivity increased on the RCMP dial on monitoring there. I just wanted, Jason, if we can get from the RCMP some sort of a feedback review report on whether or not, because they have done something after we talked to them. I know that there was cars there writing tickets very often, to the point that people notice it. I just wondering if that is something that they just forgot now, or something that, because obviously we have a problem. We still have a problem with that road and other roads. I mean, the road towards the Irving is another similar one, which I walk every day and I hear them speeding by me. So should we at least, as a first step, to actually remind the RCMP how they are doing with that speed campaign, speed control campaign?
I mean, are we looking for them to provide us information, which they won't? They won't provide us specific information on the town activities. They stopped
They
doing
don't.
that.
They will not.
They will not.
So if you go and talk to the surgeon up there, he will not say, we are still doing more because we know.
They may verbally tell you that they're doing something, but as far as data, they're not going to provide any data to us. Like they stopped doing that when they stopped coming to council and providing the monthly updates. So now everything is funneled through to a regional policing commission, policing committee. So that's where their data goes now. So we would have no information on how many tickets are sold, nor do we have the authority to say you have to a quota system. So we only can do is provide information that residents are concerned. That was raised again at council. We've done those type of things in the past. We can certainly raise those again. Because if they're speed on Riverview, the chances are they obey the speed limit on Main or Brunswick Street. So, I mean, there's people speeding throughout all of the town. It's,
What I will do after, and we can continue with that topic, but I just want to, because you raised a specific point about enforcement. I can take the issue on the Regional Service Commission in the next update from the RCMP. We have a meeting coming up, actually tomorrow. There is a meeting
Yeah, I
tomorrow.
think
There is a
that's
meeting
right, yes.
tomorrow, yes.
Yeah.
There is a meeting tomorrow. And normally there is an RCMP. Last time it was the surgeon from here who actually showed up to update for the whole region. He did not speak about St. George, he speaks about, drug busts and across. But I will make the point to actually remind him that back in September, we raised the issue of the Riverview Avenue, and there was some increased enforcement. Is the thing alive, and are they continuing it? That I will take it to do tomorrow, and I will update the council next time if he can give me something. So the thing, with respect to what we have in the agenda, which is basically whether or not to keep or send the thing back, we have another unit here, which is how much cheaper it is?
It's $425 a month, a year.
For?
No, it's, the unit itself
34.
is about $1,000 cheaper.
It's $1,000 cheaper, but after the first year, you have to pay for data. While the one that we have right now,
That's a choice. You don't have to pay for it, if you don't want it.
but the data are important at the end.
But the data, you can access the data if you have a line of sight. This, the data, the 425, allows you to do more with the data and allows you to pick it up at your house, or pick it up at the office, or
Yep.
pick it up when you're on vacation, or whatever.
I understand where you're coming from, Councillor Armstrong, but it's just not Riverview Avenue that
No,
we
I
have this
understand
issue.
that. I understand
So
that.
if we're going to end up purchasing, if we do, we're gonna have to purchase one for a lot of areas in this town. Like Lateet Road, there's mornings that cars fly up that road that if a child ever walked out would be dead instantly. So it's just not Riverview Avenue that this is a main issue. There's Mount Pleasant, there's Lateet, there's Brunswick Street. They don't obey, some of the people don't obey coming through the school zones. So if we're gonna purchase something like that, we're gonna have to purchase at least 6, because there's different areas in this town.
This is
That-
movable. This is something that is transferable.
Well, how come this other one only stayed on Riverview Avenue then? Why wasn't that one moved around so we could have got a better idea? It's just not Riverview. It could have been moved to Brunswick Street. It could have been moved to Mount Pleasant. Why was it just left on?
Maybe we can do it tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow we can actually put it up on Mount Pleasant and see what's going on.
But it has to go back. It's got to go back.
No, I'm saying the issue right now, as I say, the first issue is, should as a town have a device that the CAO can decide on a plan that I'm gonna put it so many months on these critical spots. So we can have kind of an ongoing monitoring, and perhaps every 6 months, because a report about where are the hotspots. I mean, to me, it's a very good idea at least to have one as a town.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
You were saying that you couldn't get the information that you wanted, but yet you gave us dates of excessive speed. Where did that come
Jason
from?
screenshot it for me.
Oh, okay, just curious.
So, and just, I guess just on that point, that's the information that we have is screenshots. I mean, we can pull some of it through
I would
Excel. And we have, and council has received some of those, that information. I
Yeah.
think I provided
I'd
Councilor
like to
Armstrong
see
with
the
that.
car, where it started and what it was that did 137 kilometers on Riverview Avenue when it went by that speed
Well,
sign.
you could do it.
I'm gonna try tonight. You guys block off each end of the Riverview Avenue.
It happened more than once, actually.
Anyways, I believe that we my opinion, and we can actually, my opinion is that we need to have at least one, and it's going
Is
to be.
that one more portable than the one that's in here? That one's easier
I
to
don't
move?
know, I can't say that for sure. I know that it is portable, I don't know if it's more portable.
would
So
be
what
no-
happens to it in 11 months? What happens in 11 months? It's going to the shelf somewhere?
No, it would
So-
stay out.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
certainly,
Who's
it's
gonna
still
know?
movable as any sign.
I'm sorry, what's the question? What's the question?
What happens when we cease to be?
Oh, when we cease to be.
Yeah, so
Well,
why
the same
would
thing
we-
with the
Well, that's
backhoe.
the-
What's gonna happen
that's
with
the
our
question
backhoe?
for
But that's a
everything,
different
though.
topic altogether. The question is right now, that one comes off the pole and gets sent back. The motion, I'll make the motion to do it. That one has to come off the pole and go back.
Or we can
The
spend.
trial is over. The trial's over.
But there's still a problem with speeding, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so.
It's not a deterrent anyway.
With the data, has it been effective? Well, you're saying that hasn't been effective in reducing speeding.
Not based on, well, not based on what I could see, no.
Because if maybe,
It's not working, it's.
because if it's not working, then should we continue spending money on it? That's another question. But it is also a great way to monitor your speed.
It's a municipal tool to actually have a grasp of what's going on our roads.
Yeah, that's true.
We already know.
How do you know that?
The studies have been done since September and long before that with these things.
What's happening on Mount Pleasant?
Step out the sidewalk, you'll see.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
So having a tool to say, hey, we have a problem at Mount Pleasant.
It's not gonna stop them. The monies are right there and it doesn't stop them. They'll try to pass them if they can.
But I think the issue is that we have to make an effort to try. And with the information in front of us, maybe we can have, look at other options to help supplement this, knowing the times and dates that are consistent.
So when we get all this information together, who do we give it to that they're gonna enforce it?
You give it to the commissariat.
Because I'll
Go
tell you,
ahead.
the RCMP aren't enforcing it.
They've already got it and they don't.
And they're not enforcing it. So that's what I'm asking, like, if we go ahead and do all this, and then we take the information to the RCMP, they're not gonna do nothing. They haven't done anything from September to now, other than give a few tickets.
A lot of tickets. We gave a lot of tickets.
Well, a lot of tickets, I'm sorry, Your Worship. A lot of tickets, and I don't know, because I wasn't one that speeds, so. But, so, we've got to really think of what's gonna happen with all this information we have. Where does it go? It stays with us. It doesn't, they won't do nothing other than give out tickets. That's not, they have to catch the person in the act going very fast before they really do something majorly. Or unless someone kills somebody and that's it, so. No, I'm being serious. Like, what do we do with this information once we get it?
The only way that we can actually face the RCMP guy and tell him, hey, guy, you are not doing a good job in our town, is if we have some real data to actually put on the table and tell him, you really have not done much to improve the situation. It's a quantifiable entity that you can put on the table and says, you got to do more. Whether this thing is actually having more patrols or having more tickets or having whatever. But all I'm saying is the expense itself of $4,000 or $3,000 for a tool to the town that the town can actually use to actually, because as you said, Mount Pleasant Road, I really don't know what's happening to Mount Pleasant Road. The road from Irving going down to the Catholic Church is one that at night can be a perilous place to actually cross the street. We should have some data that actually tell us, hey, that's a hotspot. And that's just a tool, and it's not a terrible expense. $4,000, which becomes, a property of the town, and we can use it and move it around as we see fit. It's not a terribly humongous expense.
But we had all this data from the speed sign that was there, and it looks like they haven't done anything about it. I mean, it was forwarded to the RCMP, the
Yes.
data, and I'm looking at a letter that you've given to us, that you've sent to,
That's coming up next.
yeah, whatever. But I'm just saying that we collected the data, but they didn't pay attention to it.
But I still don't think it would be right for us to just give up on this, because.
Oh, I'm not
I
saying
think
give
we
up,
need
I'm
to
just
be
saying they're not paying
persistent.
attention to us.
Oh, and I'm not saying give up either. What I'm saying is, if we're gonna get all this information, we're gonna give it to them, what are they going to, they're not gonna do nothing with it. So
I believe
That's
that it
what
gives
I'm
us
saying.
leverage, though. It will give us leverage. And we need to have that leverage. The leverage is very important to take to it. Maybe, you know, all I had was snippets of data. I didn't have times and dates. I didn't have the 24-hour cycles. All I had was a snippet. But the snippet tells me that we still have an issue, and we have to be prepared to step up and prepare and make our streets safe, because you're right. It isn't just review, and I get that. I understand it just happens to be there. And you know, the original report was done, you know, in the same area. But there's all kinds of areas. We've got 2 school zones that we have to take care of. We have to take care of these children that don't always see what's going on in front of them. And maybe the speed sign, maybe it doesn't make that huge of a difference, but it's a tool, like the mayor said, that we can use as leverage to go forward and maybe look at other options. The red light cameras are in their second reading, which means we are already half prepared to snap those license plates.
You know, if I try to summarize where we are, I believe, and that the motion that I'm going to put as a first step is to actually keep a tool in town. I know that in 6 months, the backhoes and these tools are going to go somewhere else, but we have a chance of actually having a tool that Jason can manage to at least give us the leverage, give it to the mayor or to the commissariat to go to see the RCMP and say, you know, hey, this data do not say a good story. Right now, if we don't have that, we cannot even say that. And that's my point. And that's why I would do you have a specific motion to put on the floor?
I'd like to have a motion to purchase the speed sign, and I'm offering up the Evolution 12, the 12-inch red light, the one for 3,400. The proper amount here, just one sec.
So where's this machine made?
Halifax. I'm not sure exactly where it's
China.
made, but it's sold out of Halifax.
And what's the warranty with it?
I did not ask that question.
This is the person who's can actually put apples and apples and give us, like, make a decision. We should ask him for $4,000 to make a decision. I mean, that's your job, Jason. I mean, if we decide to have this tool in town, then your job is to actually go and get value for money. So I believe we can put the motion today to actually, we are approving a device, and we have 2 candidates, the one that you proposed and the one that they gave us for test period, and Jason can make that decision. I mean, we should give him that.
So I guess just on that point, this needs to go back tomorrow. So
Tomorrow.
this one is done the 15th, so.
You cannot call them and say, can we bring it, the day after? You should be able to do that.
The 16th?
I mean, if my wife wants to buy something and, you know, the supplier says, I need the decision now, you can.
And I think that the period of a promotion is to look at it, to say, you know, is there alternatives for that? So, to go back to them and say, can we have another month? I can certainly try that. I guess if it doesn't, then it goes back.
A week is enough. A week is enough. If you can give us a week, you should have time to actually call Halifax and compare apples and apples, and you can make a decision. I mean, that's my suggestion. So I put a motion to actually, for the town to have a device and give the authority to Jason to make the decision after he compares apples and apples.
I still have a question.
I second it.
So this one that you want to purchase, it's going to be able to be moved all around the town
Yes.
at any time, and the boys are going to have to do it. And the data then goes to the town hall?
Yep, it would go to us, like this information does on the sign.
See, I didn't even,
Does it have to be calibrated every time it's moved, and who has?
It would have to be
the-
changed, it would have to be locations. I mean, it's not easy as you go and you pick it up and you move it. It's not like a
Yeah.
trailer like what we've had. I mean,
You have to have a
I would never
technician.
say that we're gonna move it around every week.
No.
It just would be very difficult to do, and you need to leave it there for an extended period of time to look at, to get a proper data
Yeah.
figures.
30 days at least, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would not, even if it needed more than that, just for the sake of our workload, to say, let's just keep moving the sign around. After a while, it'll get damaged and the more you keep moving the sign, it's not something that's easily to be moved. It can be moved. I mean, there's bolts in it. It's just, I don't want to get the idea that, this is going to be something on one day it's going to be on Riverview, the next day it's going to be on Main Street. It's not, we don't do that even with our trailer that we get from the Service Commission. We typically will put that, for 2 weeks, on a road and, to at least get some data that way. So,
And as far as the calibration has a very specific role when it comes to enforcement. I mean, if somebody's clicked to 110 and you say, no, I was going to 95, then you need to be calibrated. But for the purpose of us having data, we don't need to actually go to a standard of law enforcement. But we have to have something to talk to the RCMP. If we don't have anything, then we're just going to wave our hands, and it's a one step in between, I think. That's
In
why.
regards to the red light, as you're referring to, intersections is what we're looking at, and they have to be sanctioned by a police body. The tickets, they just don't snap a ticket, it has to be done by a legal, the officer has to go through them for distribution of tickets, as you referred to, but for the data logging, that's a different thing.
that's correct. I mean,
Photo radar has to be sanctioned by.
that's right. It would be usually if it's
Officer has to
if it's a
sanction.
That's not the
municipal,
photo radar.
Well, she said you could
Yeah,
adapt to that.
yeah, yeah. So anyways, I think I'm going to put the question to the floor. It was seconded, first and motion, and I'm going to go around for purchasing that device. Jason's going to do it. Councilor Allison.
I still have the questions about it, like this data stuff, like you're pushing me to jump in and vote on this without knowing what the warranty's going to be. Councillor Armstrong said about the data. Are we going to purchase data with that? There's questions that we have to have answered before I'm going to vote on something like this. And if I have to vote right now, my answer is no.
Okay?
No.
No.
I don't know. I'm confused.
So that's a blank?
That's a blank.
That's a blank, okay. So, start from there?
Yes.
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 I'd say yes.
So we have two? Yeah, yes.
Wait a minute, she's got to vote.
No,
She
she's a
can't
blank.
abstain. She's got to vote one way or the other.
or abstain.
Oh, she has to?
She has to vote
We'll
yes,
have
yay, nay,
have
or
to-
No,
or
we'll have to
abstain.
know.
We
One
have
or
to
the other.
coerce
She has to vote.
we have to coerce her now to actually vote?
Yes, she would have to either announce,
I'll say no right now because
Okay.
I'm too confused.
So the mayor cast the first deciding vote in this council. Mayor Moss.
Maybe the last one, but at least one. We made the decision, wow.
No.
Make sure you record that, huh? That's an important point.
History.
Yeah, that's history. Okay, thank you. Okay, second. Just going to find my page. Take this one. Committees of the town, wonderful.
Yes.
What
We
time is it?
tabled that. We tabled that.
Oh, we tabled it, excellent,
Tabled
excellent.
that.
Thank you very much.
Did we table it? I don't
Actually,
think
we did not, yeah, you're right, we did not.
We did not.
But I propose that we table it now, how's that, it's 10 o'clock. You want to talk about it, okay, I like an eager council. Okay, committees, what is the committees? We have a document that the town staff had prepared, it had the committees, we consolidate them at the previous council, and we collapsed the
Volunteer.
Parks and Recreation with the community needs and, anybody has a copy of this committee since it's part of the,
I can certainly lead you to it, if you worship. So you're correct, on November 8th, the regular meeting, it was moved to consolidate Parks and Recreation Committees with Volunteering and Community Support Committee. So as of now, currently today, what we have drafted is a Housing and Land Use Committee, Economic and Development and Balanced Population Growth Committee, a Public Works Committee, a Public Safety Committee, the two consolidated committees of Public Recreation, Volunteering and Community Support, and lastly, a Communications and Social Media Committee.
4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5, okay. So, is there anything that any councillor wants to put for discussion about committees?
I would move that we dissolve the committees and that
I'll
we,
second that.
and that we form ad hoc committees as
As we go.
needed, because we're only here for another, not even a year.
How wise Deputy Mayor we have.
No.
I'm
No.
all for it, yeah. No, seriously, you know, I get your rationale and your proposal, I know, I endorse it. Anybody wants to add anything to what Barbara proposed? So, there is a motion on the floor. Somebody has to second it.
Yeah, I think Sam
Sam
seconded.
seconded.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor for actually to abandon the committees of the town, given the situation that we are now in front of the Bill 82 and other things that are happening, and create ad hoc committees
As needed,
as needed.
I think.
That's a can of words.
Well,
But
vote on it.
we'll open it when it comes. So,
May I ask a question?
Yes,
Like for
please.
social media, for our social media committee, I think, like I've had conversations with other counselors and like there is definitely a need, like more of a need to promote our community and to promote like activities that are going on. Does all the counselors agree that that committee should no longer exist?
we can make an ad hoc committee of social media.
It's very
Yes.
specific to.
So essentially, tomorrow, you know, a councillor can say, I'm going to meet with an ad hoc committee on the topic of social media. I'm going to call Barbara and whoever
And
wants
most of the stuff could be put right through our town page anyway, so.
to. Actually, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Our town page is garbage. And you can quote me on that. No, seriously, I mean, it's a really problematic thing. We have to spend some money and upgrade it. And that is something that I don't say that myself. There are many, many people who are coming to me and says, what's wrong with that website? So,
Agree.
okay, we all agree. So we need an ad hoc committee to actually fix that. Right? So I put the motion is on the floor, and all in favor from actually moving from committees to ad hoc committees as need arises, say aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Can we go home now?
So we'll have a meeting tomorrow.
Business.
Second.
Business?
All business, yes. All business, nothing? Correspondence. 11A, letter from Department of Public Safety, a response to the town request for motor vehicle enforcement.
Yes, Your Worship, just with correspondence, we received one letter from Chris O'Connell with Justice and Public Safety. This is sort of in relation to what was spoken to earlier in council. Just to read this, I wish to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated September the 27th, in which you express your desire to explore enforcement options to address Motor Vehicle Act violations in the town of St. George. Unfortunately, at this time, the department does not have the capacity to permanently perform traffic enforcement within municipalities. However, we are continuing looking at different ways to deliver more efficient and effective police services that will best respond to the needs of New Brunswickers, and your feedback will certainly form part of those discussions. Appreciate you taking the time to bring that into your attention. And so, just with that, that was written back in September. I wrote a letter to Mr. O'Connell asking to see if public safety as an option could do, since it is their act, a provincial act, the motor vehicle enforcement in relation to speeding in town. And that would be in addition to our CMP, even if that's an option, if that's a fee option or whatever. And that was their response.
Anyone wants to comment on the letter from the Department of Public Safety? Any comments?
No, well, we did reach out to them, and that's the answer we got, so it puts us in the same thing where we are.
You're on your own.
Well, basically.
The only thing that I would suggest, just to follow the model that the province is proposing, if you have any specific point to make with the response that we received, we can actually raise it at the Regional Service Commission as a correspondence that is falling below what we're expecting, right?
Yeah, and, you know, Your Worship, we've looked at other options for motor vehicle enforcement in St. George, whether it's the provincial enforcement officers that they have under public safety. You know, we've looked at other entities, whether they're security firms. I mean, not anyone can just pull a car over for speeding. It has to be, you have to certainly have the training, the certification to do that. So it's very limited on those options. Certainly the province, with its public safety, they do have marked vehicles, they unmarked vehicles, both with light sirens, and those users are certified with that. And the other thing is being certified on radar use. So there's not a large list of people that can do that type of work in New Brunswick. We are limited. Outside of starting our own municipal police service, we have the only option for enforcement is the RCMP. That's really it.
If you have, after you consult with, because Councillor Armstrong has a kind of a lead on this one here, if there is any specific thing that you want me to actually take to the commission, which is meet tomorrow actually, okay? If there is any specific, just write 10 lines, pass them to me, and I will actually forward it. Because obviously, you know, we are not satisfied with what we got, and we should at least make the point. The RCMP, there is an RCMP rep who comes in every council meeting. Last time it was the surgeon from the hill, up the hill. Okay. Item 13, statements by members of council. Oh, I forgot that. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Public presentations. Are there any public presentations? Oh, we have two. We have three. So I will start with the chief.
Have another turn, Sean.
I will start with the chief, yeah.
I don't want to take much time. It's good, we've got a good surplus this year, and we're putting things away. I don't want to talk about my department because that might be self-serving, so I'll talk about another department. We had a big discussion, and I don't even remember what we came to for a conclusion about a $15,000 pump that, if we didn't have it, could potentially cause sewage to run into a river or a brook or a ditch, which could, amount to huge fines and blah, blah, blah. 5% of that amount of money that we're putting away for a rainy day could have been spent to have that in stock. We know it takes 6 to 8 weeks if we're lucky to get it here. Why is that even a question? That's all I have to say.
I'm not allowed to ask questions, otherwise I would have asked you what kind of pump you are talking about.
I thought we agreed we were gonna buy it.
Sewage pump, lift station. No, lift station, yeah.
Is that a portable pump?
I thought we
Is that a
agreed to
portable pump?
purchase it, which we did, yeah, okay.
Oh, it's the one that you talked about? Yeah, okay, yes, okay.
I don't know if we decided to get it or not.
Yes,
We did, yeah.
yeah, no, we decided. We decided, yes. Yeah, we decided, no. We are slow, but we decided, yes.
I guess on that point too,
Yeah.
this is general fund money. I wish this was the same with our utility or water sewage fund.
Yeah.
We have about a $15,000 surplus in that fund, but our water and sewage is we can't purchase things out of our general for water and sewage, unfortunately.
That is true, but there are other departments that, I'll leave it.
No, your point is taken, and
Fire department may have a sewage lift station pump at the fire department.
okay, the second presentation today is from Mr. Armstrong. David, the floor is yours. 5 minutes.
I'd just like to say the effectiveness of that road sign, it is effective. Every time I go up Riverview Avenue and people see that sign flashing, their brake lights come on. Now, not everybody slows down, but it is effective. But it's only one device that will help slow down traffic. Those figures you gave, 65,000 people drove by one way out of town. That's one way. 35,000 of them were breaking the law, were violators. 35,000, reaching speeds of 137 kilometers per hour. That makes our street unsafe, and that's not the only street that's unsafe. I agree with you. Every street in St. George has got a problem, a serious problem. And who's responsible? It's every one of you guys. It's not the RCMP.
The mayor.
It's the council.
Okay.
It's the council that is responsible to enforce speeding in the town of St. George. And you gotta find a way to address it. And what do you do with the information that you get? That's really up to you. You take it to the RCMP and say, guys, you're not doing your job. And if they're not doing their job, you've got a device here, you've got paperwork to say, we're gonna give the job to somebody else if you can't do it. As simple as that. You have to do something. It's your duty and responsibility to the citizens that voted you in. And you can't just sit there. You know, this was brought to you in September, and nothing's been done from September to now. We had speeds then at 118 kilometers per hour, thought that was bad. 137 kilometers an hour where kids are walking, pets are on a sidewalk 2 feet from people. That is absolutely atrocious. 35,000 vehicles breaking the law, violators, on one street in St. George. Do you guys want to be known for the worst place to live, the worst dangerous streets in Canada, or buy 6 of those machines and put them around? And I don't think you can take one machine and move it from street to street every 2 weeks. It doesn't work. Buy 6 of them. Pay the $3,500. And as far as the 2 different types of machines, yes, Stinson, I love Stinson. They loaned me a machine for a month. I'd love to buy that machine. I'd love to see them get and they were kind enough to give you a machine for 2 months. But you can buy one that's used more in Atlantic Canada than their particular machine. And you can buy it $1,200 cheaper. So why not buy half a dozen of them? Anyways, remember, you guys are responsible to make our streets safe. Who you hire to do it and what devices you use to slow the traffic down is up to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. And this time we have also Andrew has to make a presentation.
Tough act to follow. I'll try my best. I'd like to remind everybody here that microphones only work properly if spoken into, like so. And second, regarding number 9, A and B, which there's a discussion about where RFPs are advertised. I'd like to remind the CAO and council that there are more media organizations in Charlotte County than the St. Croix Courier and the Telegraph Journal.
Thank you, Andrew.
That's true, yes.
I'll make sure that I'm going to remind the CEO about that.
CHCO.
Our rates are very reasonable.
Thank you. No, you're actually, no, it's a very fair comment because you're doing a great service and we should at least consider you as part of the
Last time the St. Croix Courier was attending council, I was there.
I don't mention names. I don't mention names. Yeah, I don't mention names. And we are moving to the statements by council, of council, members of council. I'm going to start from my right always.
Well, I would just like to say thank you to Lindy for organizing and getting the sponsors for Deck the Town, sorry. It was a great evening. A lot of homes were decorated, done nice. Barb, Councillor Colton and Deputy Mayor Rayner came with me and we had a fun evening. We laughed, we took notes and everything, so I just wanted to say a big thank you to Lindy and all of her sponsors that helped make that evening a success.
Yes, I have a few things to say.
Please.
I'd like to thank the ladies. They done a fine job on our Nutcracker. And in regards to the drama performance, it was entertaining. I did not take place, sorry about that, but it was entertaining. Now, the movie, yeah, the movie, yeah, Olaf, come on now, yeah. It was quite entertaining, so, okay, on a more serious note, back to the committees, I have full confidence that the council can make decisions to move forward on any project or works and water, whatever. And that should be no issue as long as people want to put their name forward and work to do things, get things done. You know, and with the upcoming changes of governance, our challenge is we really don't know for the next so on, when they come in January, what is going to go forward. I suspect probably by September, we'll probably be on the downhill slide, if not pretty well, just going day-to-day operations. I don't see anything moving forward too much after that. Any projects we want to get done, we should certainly consider them right away. And that lower bridge situation, yes, that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. There was a little delay there because we were kind of caught in limbo there for a while trying to get a quote. And that held us back about a month, which by this time we might have had that started. So that said, that's pretty well it for around town. And I hope everyone stays safe through the holidays and do well. Have a good holiday.
Well, I just want to wish everybody Merry Christmas, and I had a ball with the two councilors, the deputy mayor, and I now know where Wellington Court is. It's way down in the boonies. Even our CAO couldn't tell us and give us direction. We were in the parking lot at the Day Adventure Center asking, Jason, can you tell us where Wellington Court is? We found it, and the three houses that were down in there. But I just want to say that I hope that we can continue on in a positive manner and do what we're supposed to do for the little time we have left. So, Merry Christmas, everybody.
We'll go on the other side.
I wasn't ready. I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and thank you for listening, and Merry Christmas to everyone. Stay safe.
I want to thank everyone that participated in our tree lighting ceremony. We had a great turnout, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then the second thing I want to say is I want to say thank you to all the counselors that did work on the Nutcracker. Obviously, it was a fun activity, but more importantly, I think the message was very strong as well. We believe that a healthy community is an inclusive community, and I think that Nutcracker says that. So. And happy holidays.
I was going to thank everybody who came to the Christmas tree lighting, but I also want a special thanks to the choirs from the Family Worship Centre and the Catholic Church, because it was freezing cold and they sang their hearts out, and that was lovely. And the tree lights are on, just so everybody, they have come back on. And also, thanks to everybody who decorated a pole. We had a lot of fun, like you say. We really did, even though our guy had to have his legs amputated and he lost an arm, but he's fine now. And I wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
I feel like the Grinch.
Well, we've called you that.
I know. I feel like the Grinch because my closing statement was about things that are happening while everybody is driving V8s, going around looking lights. But I like to actually mention the fact that we lost one of the doctors which we have recruited, and we gave him a free clinic and moved out of the town, and now he's in Quispam Seas. And that's a major blow for this community and the people who now have to drive 2 hours plus going and returning, plus gas to actually go and see a family physician. So that's not a happy seasonal news, but it is reality, and I want the community to know about that. We have a Bill 82 white paper that has been brought out and rushed through the Legislative Assembly is now on vote 2. I have strong opinions about what has happened in the last 9 months, how we went through a dog and pony show with nothing specific, and in 2 weeks, we pulled back the ponies and we let the dogs run, and we now have the thing coming up in days to a vote. I have not thrown in the towel. I'm actually spending my own money trying to bring the message to people who should know that this community and the community of Blacks Harbor do not want what is shoved down our throats. And we got some political support, and I was still waiting from a party leader today, Trangwal, who had the council, but I'm going to call him back. I hope for the best, but we are planning for the worst. And I want to wish everybody Merry Christmas, and thank you for bearing with us the last 9 months or 6 months.
6 months.
6 months, the last 6 months. Thank you. Thank you for coming today.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.